Naruto meets a strange snake-like man. Later that night he encounters a deranged drunk man who stabs Naruto in his eyes. The snake man rescues him before the deranged drunk can finish the job. He even offers to try and help give Naruto his eyes back. He does, but Naruto can no longer see colors. A month or so afterwards he starts seeing shimmers that soon develop into people. Dead. Naruto sent the bandaged Shimmer a flat look, cutting the warning a bit close. Yeah, the man shrugged. To Gigi, Naruto shouted. He quickly finished his breakfast. Naruto ran out of his apartment towards the Hokage's tower, and he burst into the room. Yo Gigi, he called. He paused as he saw that someone else was in the room. Sorry, Naruto apologized. It's fine, Naruto-kun, Fugakudano, and I were finishing up, he said with a kind smile. What did you need? I need to go to Iwa. I was informed that to keep my #1 spot I need to go to the formal tournament. I see you will need a guard to go with you, the third just said with a sigh. Naruto noticed that the man with shoulder-length hair that cropped his face was still standing there. Fuga something. I don't have much time. I have to leave today to make it in time, since it's a 4-day journey to get there. That lets me sleep and wake up the next day for the tournament, which is an all-day event. So I would be gone 9 to 10 days. I might want to spend an extra day so I can chat with Deidara-kun and Kuratsuchi-chan. The Hokage frowned. I see, unfortunately I don't have anyone of qualifications available at the moment. I can go with the boy Hokage-sama, the man offered. Naruto beamed at him. The third raised an eyebrow. May I inquire as to why you wish to go with him? I thought that clan matters were keeping you busy. They are, and as such I could use a break from the stress. My wife can't handle the matters for the duration of how long I'll be gone. If you allow me to go, I see. Would you mind if I spoke with Naruto-kun alone for a moment? Not at all, Hokage-sama, the man said with a small bow as he left. Naruto, while I want to trust Fugakudano, there is a chance he may try and use this opportunity to grab control of the Kyuubi, the third warned. I will allow him to go with you, but only if your guardian can counter the effects of another's Sharingan. You mentioned that he can use it on you. Naruto looked at Madara, who smirked. It will be no problem. Relaying that to the Hokage, the man gave a nod, and the door opened by itself, allowing Fugaku back in. Naruto has agreed to you guarding him for this trip. Sarutobi puffed out a bit of smoke from his pipe. Seeing as Naruto has no formal clothes, would you mind taking him to get something? The Hokage pulled out something from his drawers and tossed it to Fugaku. That should cover the cost. And Fugakudano, Naruto will most likely do things that surprise you. I would give you a warning, but an old man like me needs some form of amusement. The childish Sona went unsaid. Fugaku raised an eyebrow before he bowed, and they left. Do you have a preference for your clothes? Fugaku asked him after they reached the market district. Naruto noticed that even more people than usual were sending wary glances at him. I like gray mostly, because it's the only color I see, but I want the leaf symbol on the back in red, and the Uzumaki swirl on the shoulder if it can be done today. The Uchiha clan had raised an eyebrow a tiny bit, but no other expression crossed his face. They went to a shop where Naruto was quickly outfitted with a formal kimono. Ninja tailors had to be fast to meet the demands of shinobi after all. It did allow Fugaku enough time to go alert his family of where he was going. Packing the new clothes neatly into one of his sealing scrolls, he put it back into his pocket before he started walking out, Hashirama and Madara following. As Mew walked slightly in front. Let's get going, Janken King. I want to see Inoki's face when he realizes that you have showed up. The small group walked out. Let's go, Fugaku-sama. We have 4 days to get there, Naruto called out as he broke into a decent-paced run. The man easily caught up with him. Even at this pace we won't arrive in time. What pace do we need to go at? High Chunin speeds will do, the man told him with a glance. Naruto gave a nod. I can run at that speed for a good few hours, without using the Kyuubi's chakra, that was. And with his weight still on. The man glanced at him, and they increased their speed. I am surprised you can run as fast as you can. Uzumaki-san, please call me Naruto. And speed is an important factor for a ninja. I have heard rumors that Asama is the fastest ninja, and that he can make it to Konoha from Kumo in 2 days. I would like to be that fast. Maybe even surpass him. Partially true. I had challenged him to get faster after all. I see, the man stated. The next few hours passed in silence as the two ran towards Iwa. Finally Naruto had to slow down as his chakra depleted from keeping that fast pace. Fugaku slowed down as well. If we run at average genin speed for an hour, my chakra will replenish enough for another few hours of running at high chunin, Naruto explained. That will put us behind schedule. Naruto frowned, wondering how they could make it in time. The 4 days was usually an estimate for Jounin at low speed, which was why Chunin High could make it in the same time if only a couple hours later. If you are okay with it, I can carry you and travel at average Jounin speed for a bit. Naruto nodded, and he clambered onto Fugaku's back. Then they were off in a blur. Naruto beamed happily as the man took to the trees. He really did like the view from up here. His guardian snickered at him. Naruto stuck his tongue out at the shimmer. An hour later Fugaku set him down, and the two took off at high chunin speeds again. This pattern continued until it was night time, and Naruto fell fast asleep. Fugaku woke him up 5 hours later saying they needed to move again. And so the journey went with them only completely stopping for sleep. They ate rations on the move. They actually made pretty good time as on the fourth day they arrived a few hours before nightfall. As they walked up towards the gate Naruto dug through his scroll, and pulled out his headband, and placed it around his neck. Fugaku raised both eyebrows. You are an honorary shinobi of Iwa? Yep, Naruto said. I see, so that must be why Hokage-sama only felt the need to place one guard with you. Naruto nodded. Yeah, the two arrived at the gate. Naruto was immediately waved through, though they had to go through paperwork with Fugaku. Naruto waited amused now to go greet the old man. Naruto said out loud, Fugaku following him. Naruto looked for the familiar building, and made his way. Entering he saw Deidara. Deidara-kun. He called out. Naruto-kun. Ha! I knew you would show up. The older boy said, ruffling his hair. Of course I have to keep my position. Let's go greet the old man. Then the two boys grinned, and ran to the Tsuchikage's room. Bursting in, Fugaku followed. His eyes widened as soon as he saw what room they had burst into. Enoki Oji-san. Naruto called out. The old man looked up, and cursed under his breath. How could you not tell me that I needed to come here for the formal tournament to keep my place as number one? Bah! No matter that you're here, I'll beat you this time, brat. Ha! You can try, old man, Naruto said with a smirk. Who's the grouchy-looking Konoha ninja behind you? Enoki asked, smirking as Fugaku frowned. That's my guard Fugaku. Gigi assigned him, Naruto replied dismissively. Enoki snorted. Wicked eye Fugaku. I thought you were retired as clan head. I am, Fugaku replied in a monotone voice. Bah! You Uchiha always so dull. Still better that Hyuga clan. Enoki snorted. I take offense to that, moderate deadpan crossing his arms. I am not dull. Well, since you're here, brat, you can stay in the hotel same as your last visit. I'm sure the girls will be pleased to hear that you could show up. Naruto sweat dropped and groaned. Not the fangirls. I forgot about them. I have heard many horrible stories about what fangirls will do if they can catch me. Fugaku sighed deeply. Ha! Serves you right, brat. Now shoo, Enoki said, waving him away. See ya tomorrow, Okoki Oji-san, Naruto said, and seeing Deidara jump out the window after shouting, race you to the hotel. He jumped out after the older boy, quickly catching up with him with a smirk. The two boys arrived at the hotel, at the same time Fugaku arriving a second after them. So how long you plan on staying? So long as Fugaku-sama here doesn't mind, I'll stay an extra day after the tournament. It is fine. Fugaku agreed. Cool, then we can't spar the day after the tournament, Deidara said. Yeah, after checking into the hotel Naruto went with Deidara to eat some bakuden. I tried some of this in Konoha. Got to admit that it's a lot better here, though the ramen and inarizushi are better in Konoha. Actually, I was wondering, what rank are you? Deidara grinned as they started walking back to the hotel. I was actually just promoted to chunin. Cool. Hey look, isn't that Naruto-kun? Naruto heard a whisper. Yeah, it looks like it. Naruto started walking a little bit faster. Naruto-kun, one of the girls shouted. Where? A multitude of voices called out. There, let's get him to play with us. Naruto started running. I ain't sharing Naruto-kun with you hags, one of the girls shouted. A horde of footsteps ran after him. Good luck. Deidara laughed at him as he split off. Traitor, Naruto shouted as he speed up a bit faster. Deidara's retreating laughter was his only answer. Eventually he lost the fangirls and made his way to the hotel. You have fangirls? Fugaku stated flatly. Yeah, unlike in Konoha, I'm actually liked here. I admit I'm surprised they like you despite your similarity to your father, Fugaku stated before he realized what he said and shut his mouth. Oh, you know my parents? Naruto asked, shrugging. Yeah, my thought was if Iwa can like me despite who my father is, then I can get Konoha to like me despite the burden he gave me. You know ya, Naruto replied. As he started changing his clothes, he kicked back on his bed before stating, do you know when I was gone for about a month a while back? Fugaku nodded. Well, Iwa actually kidnapped me then. Because of who I resembled. They did a blood test and so I learned who my parents were during the time I participated in a semi-casual tournament and beat the old man, gaining the respect of Iwa and fangirls. Anyways, after that Kumo kidnapped me and I met one who carries one less than mine. He was able to tell what I was, and so I received a bit of training in how to use Kurama's chakra. I also participated in one of their weekly mini-tournaments. Kurama, his name. I see. Are you an honorary shinobi in Kumo as well? Fugaku asked with a frown. No, anything else I should know? Not off the top of my head, Naruto stated with a shrug. Anyway, since I already know who my parents were, Gigi offered to tell the village. but I said no cause I want to earn the respect of Konoha, despite the burden I carry. I understand. It is getting late. Naruto nodded. Yet good night Fugaku-sama. Good night Naruto-san. With that he fell asleep. He woke up the next day, got dressed in his formal clothes. With his guardian directing him, he fixed his hair to make it look more tame than it normally did. It had grown longer down to the medium of his back. Naruto refused all of Hashirama's teasing that he was growing it out to look like Madara's, even if it was true. Exiting, he found Fugaku leaning against the wall opposite of his door. The man raised an eye. Looking over him, "You clean up nice when you're not wearing those rags you normally call clothes." The man gave a compliment and insult at once. Used to that kind of compliment, he just smiled. "Thanks, and I get overpriced usually, so I tend to wear the few clothes I have until they are nothing more than rags before buying new stuff." "I see." Naruto walked through Iwa, heading towards a large stadium in which the tournament was to be held. He remembered from his previous visit that the ramen stand was near it. Getting breakfast, he then made it into the building. Fugaku followed him. "Is your guard going to participate?" Inoki asked, walking over to him. Fugaku frowned again. "Participate in what? I still have not been informed as to what this tournament is about." Inoki laughed, throwing his head back. Before he complained about his back, after a moment, he smirked at Naruto. "Keeping the suspense on your old Hokage." "You got it, Oji-san," Naruto said with his foxy grin. "What else would the tournament be about but one of the most fearsome competitions known to man, where it can't break your spirit if you're not strong enough?" Inoki stated ominously. Fugaku's frown deepened. "Just like I am going to crush your spirit, old man, when I defeat you again, and keep my claim of the number one." Naruto smirked, making his tone sound a bit more like Madara on purpose. "Ha, I have been training since the last match, brat. You're going to lose. That is what you think, old man. I am going to win every single hand like last time." The old man smirked down at him. "Care to make a bet around that fact, brat?" Naruto nodded. Sure. Neither noticed how silent everyone had gotten as the watch the back and forth. "If you lose even one hand, you have to forfeit the entire thing. And you have to bow down to me, proclaiming me the true master of Janken." Fugaku blinked. "All right, and if I win, I will bow down to you, brat, and state that you are the master of Janken. Or I will teach you a jutsu." Naruto nodded before pausing. "Is there any way I can get both?" Inoki raised an eyebrow and chuckled. He started to shake his head no before pausing as he looked at Fugaku. "How do you think you could fare against your guard using his Sharingan?" Naruto paused as he glanced at Madara. His guardian gave terrifying grin and cackled. "Do not worry, brat. Even with Fugaku using his Sharingan, it will be no match for us." Smirking to Inoki, he nodded. "I can't take him down, winning every match, even with him using his Sharingan." "Very well then, if you win the tournament, and against Wicked Eyes here, I will both bow down and teach you a jutsu." "You are going down, Oji-san," Naruto declared. It was silent for a moment before the crowd erupted into cheers, some shouting for Naruto to win, some shouting for Inoki to reclaim his throne. The two competitors eyed up each other before turning away from each other and walking away. Fugaku followed him. "All of this, over Janken?" He questioned, a note of disbelief in his voice. "Obviously. What else do you think? A kid like me can't beat Inoki?" "Oji-san?" with a Naruto questioned with a snort. Fugaku nodded, then asked, "You think you can beat me even if I am using my eyes?" Naruto smirked at him. "I know I can beat you." He crossed his arms. "Interesting. It's only cheating if you get caught," Naruto stated. "That is the ninja motto, is it not?" "A very true. All right, can everyone hear me? It's time to start this tournament off. If you are not a competitor, please make your way to the stands. If you wish to compete, please go sit down at a table." Naruto sat down at the nearest table, Fugaku sitting next to him. "This year we got a real treat, as I'm sure most of you heard. Fallen King Inoki has made a wager with the solid hand Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki. Let us see if the Fallen King can reclaim his throne, or if solid hand thoroughly defeats him. But before we can get to that exciting match, we have to start from the ground up. Let's kick this off with round 1. 5 rounds of 50 hands. Remember, cheating is allowed so long as you don't get caught. Begin." Naruto smirked at his opponent, an older ninja, most likely a jounin. Naruto won easily. He liked that he could cheat with Madara's help to win constantly. Everyone here knew he was cheating, but they didn't know how, and they respected him for it. Naruto waited as everyone else finished their rounds and round 2 begun. It was now double the hands. The third round came, and there was now 100 people left. Time for the Wheel of Additions. For those of you who don't know, since this is a formal tournament from the third round, until only an uneven amount of contestants are left, the wheel chooses an extra rule in place. The man spun the wheel. Okay, the first addition is blindfolds. Some people walked around and passed out blindfolds. Naruto put it on, still smirking. He was already sitting across from his next opponent. 5 rounds of 100 hands. They had people come to watch all the contestants and count the wins and losses of each person since they were blindfolded. Naruto once more won the round. Though this was the round Fugaku lost. Finally the last people finished, and the announcer spun the wheel again, and the wheel says, cold water. A lot of people questioned before they noticed ninja jumping up above them, and using a water jutsu to make them all soaking wet. Then they used a wind jutsu to get a breeze going, making them get cold fast. The cold wet contestants went to their next opponents, where they still had to fight blindfolded. Naruto once again won. Now there was only 25 people left. Alright, now that there are only 25 people left, we will have knockout style. 2 names are randomly drawn. If you lose, you're out. Your name is placed back into the drawing until only 10 people are left. 7 rounds of 100 hands. Of course, your opponent can forfeit if they don't want to suffer the punishment of losing again. For those who don't know, if you lose in the knockout round, you have to suffer the humiliation. From the wheel, Naruto's name was called first against Asasukura. Damn. Just my luck, the man grumbled. You want to forfeit? Naruto asked. The man nodded. Ain't no way that I'm going to suffer the humiliation. If I thought I had a chance of winning, I would risk it, but not against you. Solid hand winner by forfeit. Solid hand Naruto. The other matches went on the losers having to suffer humiliating punishments, unspeakable horrible stuff. Naruto had to go against someone else, and they to choose to forfeit so as to not suffer the terrible horrible punishment. Finally, there was only 10 of them remaining, and surprisingly it was the same 10 as Naruto remembered from the other tournament. Well, 9 if you didn't include him. Alright, now that we're down to the final 10, it's time for the ranking to start with. We draw numbers to give you your starting ranking, and then you 10 can't challenge each other until either you are satisfied with your spot or an hour has passed. 3 rounds 10 hands. After the hour has passed, then we start the final challenges. They were given their numbers, and Naruto was given number 6, Deidara number 1, Kuratsuchi was number 8, and Inoki was number 7. Naruto didn't know anybody else on the top 10 rankings. Finding the number 5 person, he challenged them before they had a chance to challenge number 4. Naruto won against them, ascending his rank up. He had to wait for number 4 to finish his fight against 3, and lose before he could challenge him. Then he challenged the girl who was number 3, he beat her, and then he had to battle against Deidara, who had lost his position of 1. Naruto won, and then challenged the older male who held 1. Naruto won, and then he stayed at the top position of number 1. Inoki soon went to number 2, and held his position, saying that they would do their challenge in the final battle. Deidara took number 3, and held it, while Kuratsuchi held number 4. Being unable to beat Deidara, everyone else kept fighting. The hour passed, and the announcer blew the whistle. Okay, time for the final challenges. Number 10, I challenge, she said. Alright, as per the challenge rules, this is 3 rounds of 100. The 2 fought and she won against number 9. She challenged number 8 but lost. Number 8, he challenged but lost. Number 7 challenged number 6, and won. Then challenged number 5, and won again. He challenged Kuratsuchi, but lost. She chose to challenge Deidara, and lost. Deidara chose to not challenge Inoki. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, it is a match we have all been waiting for, and as such we will let it be a longer match so long as the crowd agrees. There was a loud cry of approval. Okay, it will be 5 rounds. The crowd started booing and calling for more. Well, looks like the crowd really wants a long drawn out battle between Solid Hand and the Fallen King. We will have 7 rounds of 50 hands. The crowd shouted for a 100 hands. Pardon me, it will be 7 rounds of 100 hands, the announcer said with a sigh. Does the crowd want anything else? The crowd was silent, and then, to Naruto's surprise, Fugaku called out, all rounds must be played to full. Does the crowd object? It remained silent, but Naruto could see a couple people nodding in approval at Fugaku. Alright, then let's begin. A fierce match of Janken began, Inoki trying to win at least 1 hand to get Naruto to forfeit his right to being the Janken King. As the hands passed by, and then rounds, Inoki became more and more desperate to win a single hand. Finally, after an intense battle between the 2, Naruto thoroughly defeated Inoki. Not even one. I couldn't even win or tie 1 hand with you. Alright everyone. Now, as we all heard earlier, of Solid Hand, Naruto here can defeat the infamous Wicked Eye Fugaku, who will be using his Sharingan. He gets the Fallen King Inoki to both bow down to him in defeat, but to also teach him a jutsu. We may not be able to figure out how Solid Hand here is cheating, but can it hold up the Sharingan? Let's find out now. Fugaku used the Shunshin to come back down from the stadium. The 2 stood across from each other. What made you call out for the rounds to be played to full? Fugaku gave the tiniest of smirks. I wanted you to humiliate the Tsuchikage. Naruto laughed at that. Nice. Ready for me to beat you even with the Sharingan? The man nodded and activated his Sharingan. Naruto saw his 3 Tomoe appear. Alright, this will be an interesting match. 3 rounds of 50 hands. Naruto, I want you to start as if you were going to do a certain hand sign. Fugaku will react to that motion, and then you'll change to what I call out. Understand? Naruto gave a subtle nod. The 2 started. Naruto twitched his hand, as if he was going to do scissors, and then Madara told him to do paper. Fugaku did rock, and stared in shock as he lost, and so it went, Naruto winning, though some were close as Fugaku tried change his in the middle, as well to recounter Naruto's counter, but Naruto was able to smoothly counter Fugaku's rencounter 3 rounds later, and Naruto was declared the winner. Inoki was shocked. How the hell can you even defeat Wicked? Fugaku. The man shook his head. You must have some kind of Janken bloodline. That would be a weird bloodline.
Indeed.
Fugaku agreed. You have very talented eyes, Naruto, to be able to pick up the twitches at the same speed, in fact it seemed even faster, than the Sharingan, and counter them so smoothly, that it seemed as if you were going to make that motion all along. Very impressive. That can't be it. Remember, even in round 3 when he was blindfolded he didn't lose a single hand, Inoki stated, shaking his head. Fugaku blinked before nodding. That had slipped my mind. Truly, then I do not understand how you can win so thoroughly. Naruto just smirked. I think it's time for you to owe up and bow to the true king of Janken, Naruto announced, raising his voice a bit to catch the attention of the people around them. Silence fell and everyone watched Inoki's side. A bet was a bet, he declared, and bowed down. I admit my defeat to the great and powerful master of Janken, Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki. His declaration as his back gave an ominous crack, and he winced, complaining, on my back. Naruto chuckled, and helped the old man to straighten up. The crowd cheered. After the cheering died down, Inoki stated, since this is a formal tournament we have to stay the rest of the day for fans who want to talk, and get signatures, leading them to some tables that were brought out. Ah, okay, say Inoki Oji-san. What is with them calling me Solid Hand, and you Fallen King? That wasn't mentioned last time. Well, before you came around, Brad, I was the reigning champion of Janken for well over 50 years, but even I lose a few hands. You, though, you have yet to lose a single hand, even against Wicked Eye over there. I wouldn't be surprised if the next time you come your name has evolved, or they add a title to it. The two seated themselves at the table and starting signing cloths, or other items, at the request of told him to sign as Solid Hand Naruto, and only add his last names. If they asked to Saratobi, his door opened, and he looked up, see his advisors walk in. Luckily though Danzo wasn't with them. Danzo always brought him a headache these days. Hiruzen Humorous stated, standing next to Kaharu. Yes, we have heard that you allowed the Jinchuriki to leave the village. To you no less. And he asked, staring at them, lighting his pipe. Such foolish behavior cannot be allowed. If Iwa decides to keep the Jinchuriki, we would lose our weapon. Kaharu protested with a glare. Iwa will not keep Naruto, and you would be wise to not address the boy as a weapon again, he stated firmly. If Inoki Dano does decided to do something foolish, then Fugaku will take care of the matters, and get Naruto back safely. You sent the Uchiha clan head with the Jinchuriki humped. Asked. Of course, he was around when he heard that Naruto wished to go to Iwa, and needed a guard. He offered his services, seeing no reason to deny Naruto from going. I allowed it. But the Uchiha plan, Hiruzen leveled a glare at them. You two know as well as I do. Fugaku hates his clan's actions as much as we do. He is doing his best to get them to see reason. If it were not for him they would have revoluted a lot sooner, but you can't trust him around the Kyuubi. His clan was behind the attack 7 years ago. Hiruzenpa. To circle of smoke out. I have told you that those actions were rogue Uchiha, and you have given us no proof of it. If I were to reveal my source, it would put my source in danger. He told them. That still does not negate the fact that Fugaku could choose to utilize this opportunity to take control of the Jinchuriki for the Kaharu stated. Perhaps not. But I trust Fugaku. Why do you not think Iwa would do something to the Jinchuriki, especially if they figure out his lineage? Hamir asked. Iwa already knows of his lineage. They have known since earlier this year. They do not care to pass the actions of the parents onto the child like some people like to do. Hiruzen stated. Very well then, but if we lose our Jinchuriki due to your foolish actions, we will be formally petitioning the daimyo for you to be replaced with someone of more mental soundness. Perhaps before you judge me harshly you should read this, Hiruzen stated, amused as he blew out another circle of smoke. Digging through his drawer he pulled out the latest edition of the Red Alert. Flipping it open to a certain page he slid his book to them. Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki, known as Solid Hand Naruto, has thoroughly defeated the previous king Inoki, this legend, in the one tournament he has partaken and not lost a single hand. Kumo has further added that he has won the Genin Cup while he was staying in their village. Kaharu read out loud. Hiruzen. What is this book? Hamir questioned. He raised an eyebrow, surprised. You don't know? Well, I guess it's more commonly used in the other 4 villages, rather than ours, since we don't host the tournaments are generally a secret to the other villages, but outsiders are welcome to participate if they have someone willing to front them. They request that the outsiders do not tell others what it is, but it is not enforced. I myself happen to know that Kumo has speed races, and that Suna has wind and puppet competitions. Anyways, the Red Alert book is generally used to show people who can humiliate you, like Kakashi for example. He is in there because he tends to finish his opponents' jutsus before them, even if they are a master at the technique. If he was such a kid just so weak to lose to a child, then Perhaps they should no longer be considered a major 5. Homura suggested slowly. Hiruzen snorted. Do not think that just because Inoki Dano lost in a tournament that the village is weak. The tournament can be anything, we do not know what it is. Perhaps you should use that spy network of Jiraiya's to find out about their strength. Deciding to amuse his former teammates, he agreed. Next time Jiraiya is in town I will ask him to find out, or report if he already knows. I am a bit surprised he hasn't shown up yet. Very well. We shall take our leave now. Naruto collapsed into the booth across from Inoki, Deidara, and Kuratsuchi. He sat next to Fugaku. The three were at a fancy restaurant. I'm exhausted. Did Naruto complain? Kuratsuchi nodded in agreement. How you better get used to it, brat, Inoki stated with a bark of laughter. When I agreed to guard you I did not think I would actually have to save you from a group of fangirls, Fugaku teased in a flat voice. The only reason Naruto knew he was teasing was from all his experience with his guardian. You did such a good job, Naru-chan. Hashirama congratulated him. It was only because of me that he did so well, Madara stated, crossing his arms. Of course, thank you for help. A little Naru-chan cheat, Hashirama said, hugging Madara, who quickly shoved him off. Baka, Madara shouted. Hashirama pouted and bent down, a depression cloud over his head. Naruto watched amused. Before turning his attention back to the table he looked at his menu, and since it didn't have ramen he decided he would order it. Inizushio. Naru-chan, have you tried mushroom mixed soup? It's my favorite food, Hashirama asked, pointing to the side dish. Giving a small shake of his head he decided to try it. The waitress came by and took their order. They ate and Naruto amusedly watched as Inoki and Deidara got into another argument about the boy's choice in art. Let's go to the hot springs after dinner, Deidara suggested after they finished their argument at an impasse. Yeah. Naruto agreed enthusiastically. So after they finished eating the group went to relax in the hot springs. After they had relaxed a bit Fugaku sighed. I needed this, he muttered. Though? Naruto asked. The man opened an eye and said. Being a clan head is stressful. Naruto nodded. It was probably more stressful when his clan wanted to plan a coup. The Shimmers had told him how Fugaku was one of the few trying to calm the clan down. Yet that the masked Uchiha was still egging the more vocal members on. After the trip was done they went to the hotel, and Naruto quickly fell asleep. The next day he woke up to Deidara banging on his door. Come on Naruto, let me teach you more about the beauty of art. The boy shouted. I'm up. Give me a minute to get dressed. Naruto shouted back. Getting changed he left the hotel following Deidara, with Fugaku following him. The two boys sparred a bit, with Deidara clearly being the winner despite Naruto putting up a good fight. Still it was a good fight. Fugaku watched ready to interfere if something were to go wrong. After they finished their spar Deidara showed Naruto some of his art. Say Deidara, you say they only appear in the standard fire colors, yeah? Maybe you could find a way to change the color of your explosives, or maybe find a way for your explosions to take a certain shape. And if you could do that maybe you could find a way to get your explosions to blow up in a certain picture or design, yeah? That would be even more artistic. At least I think it is, Naruto suggested. That is brilliant, Deidara shouted him, tackling him in a hug. Naruto smiled. How do you make the explosive clay anyways? Well, I have the explosion release bloodline. It allows me to mix earth and lightning chakra together to create a very destructive chakra. I can use it out of my hands and feet if I wanted to, but I prefer shoving the destructive chakra into clay which is very receptive to it and then activating it. Naruto nodded. That's cool. Thinking he wondered, entering his mindscape he stood in front of Kurama. Hey Kurama, were you listening to what Deidara said? Yes I was. What of it, brat? The grumpy fox asked, opening an eye halfway. Do you think your chakra can do something similar? Your chakra is destructive, right? The eye opened fully and the great fox laughed. Perhaps it might. You should try it. Naruto opened his eye back to the real world. Hey Deidara, I want to try something. Do you have any non-explosive clay on you? The boy nodded. Yeah, why? He questioned, handing over a small lump of clay the size of a marble. Naruto giggled. Let's just see if this works. Pulling the Kyuubi's chakra he pushed a tiny amount into it. He noticed that the light gray clay changed into a darker gray. Deidara's eyes widened a bit. The color of the clay took a red tint to it. He explained to the boy. Fugaku frowned. Naruto? It's fine. I'm just experimenting. Fugaku nodded but came closer. Deidara tilted his head. What was that red chakra you shoved into it? The chakra color is different. Hala, I have a second source of chakra, a mutation that some are born with. Deidara gave a nod of understanding. Anyways, I know my normal chakra won't be destructive but the other chakra. The boy's eyes light up. I see. Because mutations can't have a variety of effect, you think it might have a similar effect to my explosive release, he said, excited. Yep. I don't know how to activate it. Would you like to? Deidara nodded and got ready. Throw it. Naruto tossed a lump of clay high into the air and away from them. The two boys watched as Deidara said Katsu. At first nothing seemed to happen. And then Naruto watched as it expanded rapidly, and then his world went white. His ears were ringing loudly and after a moment it started to go away. Blinking he found himself on the ground same with Deidara, and covering them was Fugaku. Above the clan head was an earth dome. Fugaku sat up. Are you two boys okay? He asked looking at them. Naruto nodded. Hashirama was circling around him, and Madara, his eyes were decidedly giddly looking. Deidara beamed. That was amazing. How much of that chakra did you put in? Naruto blushed. Only a little bit. Please, you have to make me some of that clay to have on hand. Sure, not for free. Fugaku interrupted. Naruto blinked. You should never offer any services for free, and that chakra you used made those bombs seriously deadly. I would also need Deidara here agree that he must never use those bombs made from your chakra against the Konoha ninja. The young boy nodded. Naruto, say this. Madara commanded. Fugaku-sama, I would be honored if you would be the negotiator for me in this exchange. Naruto said formally. The man raised an eyebrow but nodded. Very well Naruto-san, I will be willing to negotiate for you. Deidara, realizing that this was going to be a formal transaction, bowed. Please allow me to get a negotiator for myself. Fugaku nodded. About 20 minutes later, they were in the Tsuchikage's office. I have agreed to be Deidara's negotiator for this transaction. He says that the cause of the large explosion from earlier was a mutation chakra Naruto-kun has. He wants Naruto to infuse some of his clay with this chakra. Is that correct? Fugaku nodded. Yes, that is correct. My client is to be paid for doing this, and we want a guarantee that the special clay will not be used against Konoha in return for offering this service. That is reasonable. I will create the documents for an agreement to not use those bombs against Konoha. What price do you want to name? For each pound of clay 2 million ryo. Inoki frowned. That is too much. 500,000 ryo. That large explosion was from only a small marble size of clay. 1 million. Fine. He agreed. Then the next hour was spent on paperwork drafting the agreement and having to agree on the words, and clauses, and all that. Alright, that's done. Fugaku said nodding to Naruto. Thanks Fugaku-sama. The man looked at him for a moment. Just call me Fugaku. He stated offering his hand. Naruto's eyes widened at the show of respect the Uchiha clan head was offering him. Very well Fugaku. Naruto said with a smile as he shook the man's hand. Alright. I need to uphold the other part of my bet now, so Brad, I'm going to teach you an earth jutsu. Inoki said, leading him to a training field. The jutsu I will be teaching you is Daten. Mobile core. The hand signs are Ramok Spore. And then slam your hand on the ground. Inoki demonstrated, raising himself up 10 feet. You can use this to raise or lower a patch of earth. Naruto nodded and tried it. The first few times nothing happened, but with pointers from Madara and Hashirama he soon got it raising up a couple feet. That's my job done, just keep practicing with it to get better. Inoki stated with a nod. Now make this pound of clay into the super explosive clay. Deidara said, rushing to him. Fugaku looked to Inoki, who grumbled. I'll have the money delivered to you once I get back to my office. Fugaku nodded. Very well. Naruto grabbed the clay, but before he could put Kurama's chakra into it he was in his mindscape. Hey, why did you bring me in? The amount of chakra to put into the pound of clay will be a bit more than the marble of clay from earlier. Hey, why? Wouldn't that make a larger explosion? No, because the small amount you had earlier was condensed into a smaller form. It created more bang. To create the same size, the chakra density would have to be equal to what you put into the marble size. Oh, I don't know how dense the chakra was in the marble. Leave that to me, Brad. I will put the amount of chakra needed, and stop when it is done. Okay, thanks Kurama-san. The Kyuubi nodded and Naruto opened his eyes to the real world. He felt Kurama's chakra come to him, and be shoved into the pound of clay. After a few seconds Kurama pulled his chakra back. There you go, Deidara. One highly explosive pound of clay, try not to blow you up with it, yeah. The boy beamed at him, sweet. Thank you so much, Naruto. Naruto grinned back. He practiced the earth jutsu Inoki taught him, while Deidara experimented with his clay trying to figure out how to add colors or shape. Inoki had the money delivered in a scroll which Naruto put in his pocket. The day passed and with Deidara's help they found the store that sold the clay, and Naruto bought about 10 pounds of the stuff that he sealed into a new sealing scroll he bought. They went to eat, though Naruto had to run from a group of fangirls before he could get there. They ate and relaxed at the hot springs once more, and then they went to sleep. The next day Naruto left with Fugaku, and was surprised when people actually came to say goodbye to him. Fans from the tournament, Deidara, Kuratsuchi, even Inoki came to say goodbye to him. Next year, Brad, I'll beat you. Naruto smirked. Keep trying, old man. I ain't going to let you win. And then Naruto and Fugaku began their journey back, though the two took it more slowly, going at only an average genin pace. It would take them a couple extra days, but neither of them were in a hurry to return. As they ran back, Naruto and Fugaku would play a bit of Janken the man using his Sharingan trying to beat Naruto, or just even figure out how he kept winning. Naruto, when they got back into Fire Country, took off his Iwa headband and put it in his scroll. They got back late at night. Konoha seemed oddly silent, the very air itself still. The two glanced at each other as they entered, both noting the sleeping guards. It's getting late. Why don't you come sleep at my house tonight, and then tomorrow morning we can report to the Hokage? Sure. The two walked through Konoha. The two walked, and slowly they came to the Uchiha clan grounds. Naruto blanched at the scene before him. Bodies lay on the ground, the streets tainted red with blood. Men, women, and children were on the ground in lifeless positions. Fugaku ran forward. Naruto followed him, not wanting to be alone amongst the bodies and the many shimmers that were starting to appear. They entered into a house to come across a horrifying scene. A teenager stood over the down form of a boy who Naruto recognized from his class, Sasuke. The teenager looked up, his face scarily blank. His guardian was looking around in horror. My clan, Hashirama went over to him and started trying to comfort the man. Itachi, what? Fugaku asked, his eyes wide in horror. Tao-san, the teenager stated flatly. You? The clan head questioned in disbelief. Itachi tilted his head to the side slightly. I am glad you showed up. Now I don't have to hunt you down to kill you, he stated. Madara growled, and suddenly a large thing formed around him. How dare you, he seethed, glaring at Itachi. The air became heavy and difficult to breathe under his killing intent he was releasing. Apparently he was having some kind of effect on the living as he was Naruto, because the two Uchihas paused, looking around. What is this feeling? Fugaku muttered. Madara swung one of the arms of the large thing at Itachi, who shuddered but otherwise seemed unaffected. How dare you kill the clan Kinslayer? Naruto watched as his guardian continued to try and pound Itachi to the ground. Hashirama sighed. Suddenly Madara appeared in front of him. Naruto, do you think I could temporarily possess you to crush that slaughterer? He asked, though they had never tried possession before. Madara, no, Hashirama stated. His guardian growled at him, his eyes spinning madly. Naruto bit his lip. Hashirama frowned and would sprout it up and tried to wrap around Madara. Madara scowled at him, and the two began fighting. Naruto sighed in relief as Hashirama led his pissed-off guardian away, taking away the heavy feeling. Apparently while the Shimmers had distracted him, the two living had been talking. Sasuke started to stir. He opened his eyes. Tao-san, he muttered. Naruto noticed that his eyes had one tomoe in them. Naruto, get Sasuke to the hospital, Fugaku commanded. Understood. Don't die, your son will need his father, Naruto stated to him as he went over to Sasuke. Let's get out of here, Naruto stated, gently offering his hand. The boy Sasuke nodded shakily, taking it. The two boys ran out of the Uchiha clan. Naruto flared his chakra out 3 times, a rudimentary signal he had been taught. The two boys continued to the hospital. He entered. Oi, you lot, get him to a room. And why should we listen to you, demon brat? The nurse on duty stated, not even looking up. Naruto growled. Because Sasuke here needs treatment. The nurse looked up, and her eyes went wide at seeing him practically holding the boy up. She pressed the button, and a team of medics came out with a stretcher. The nurse from before glared at him. What did you do, demon? She hissed. I did nothing, Naruto stated. She stared flatly back, adopting the Uchiha expression number 15. You are beneath me, and I will not listen to what a plebeian such as you has to say. Maybe Madara was rubbing off on him. Just a little bit. An hour later Fugaku appeared, heavily wounded. I need treatment. He managed to get out before he collapsed. Naruto stayed in the hospital lobby, and a few minutes after they scrolled Fugaku out, the Hokage appeared. Uzumaki, report, the third said sharply. He gave a nod. Me and Fugaku-sama were returning. Since it was so late, he graciously offered his home for the night, stating that we would report his successful mission in the morning. We arrived at the Uchiha clan ground to find bodies scattered about. Naruto shuddered. Fugaku-sama ran off, and I followed him. We found an older by whom he addressed as Itachi standing over the body of Sasuke. He told me to take Sasuke to the hospital, and I did. I have been waiting here for Fugaku-sama. He appeared an hour later, heavily wounded. They took him for treatment, and then you arrived, Hokage-sama, Naruto reported. The third gave a nod. I see. Go sleep. I will summon you tomorrow for a full debriefing. Naruto bowed and left. He returned to his apartment to find Hashirama there, though his guardian was not. Where is Guardian Shimmer? Naruto asked. He's offering comfort to the newly dead Uchiha. He's also scolding them for their foolishness of trying to plan a coup. He is also explaining what they are now. For those who choose to pass on, he is helping them with that, if they can pass on, that is. What do you mean if they can pass on? Well, to be able to fully pass on, you have to be at peace with yourself. That is willingly, of course. You can be forced to pass on by another spirit destroying you. How can you be destroyed? Naruto asked with a frown. We are considered destroyed if we use up all of our spiritual energy. Ah, Naruto stated as he finished getting ready for bed. He lay down and soon fell asleep. He woke the next day to a knock. Going over, he opened the door and saw the commander. Hokage-sama has requested your presence. Okay, let me get dressed. The commander nodded and Naruto closed the door and changed into his semi-formal clothing he had gotten in Iwa when he first visited. Noticing that the clothes seemed to be getting small on him, he grinned. That was sure proof he was growing. Quickly sombering though, he went to the Hokage tower, Hashirama following him, as well as his guardian who was back again. He went into the old man's room and saw that Fugaku was already there. He gave a small nod to the man who nodded back. Naruto gave a small smile to Tobirama who dipped his head in acknowledgement before straightening back up. Fugaku-dano, please give a full report of what happened since leaving Konoha. After we left, we traveled at high chunin speeds for a few hours before Naruto-san had to take a break to allow his chakra to refill, because we would not make it in time at the current rate. I offered to carry him, so we could move faster while his chakra recharged. He agreed, and we made good progress. Upon arriving in Iwa territory, he surprised me with the fact he was actually an honorary shinobi. When we got there, he made his way to a prominent building, and he greeted an older boy named Deidara. The two burst into a room, and it was only after I saw the figure behind the desk that I realized it was that Tsuchikage, and that he called him Oji-san. The two bantered a bit before the two boys decided to race to the hotel where Naruto-san would be staying. We went to eat dinner, and after we returned I had my first encounter with Naruto's fangirls. The boy wisely fled and I followed after him. Fugaku stated, giving Naruto a sympathetic pat. We chatted a bit upon arriving back at the hotel, where it was revealed that he knew who his parents were and of the burden he carried. But despite the fact that announcing who his parents are to Konoha would relieve some of the hate he receives, he chooses not to so he can earn their respect himself. The next day it was time for the tournament. The boy met up with Inoki-sama before it started, and they made a bet. If Naruto-sen could win without losing a single hand, then Inoki-sama would bow down to him and proclaim him master of the tournament, or Naruto-sen had the option to learn a jutsu. If Naruto were to lose even a single hand, then he would have to forfeit and proclaim Inoki-sama as the true master. I was also invited to participate in the tournament. Naruto-san asked if there was a way to win both. Inoki-sama said that if Naruto could beat me while I am using my Sharingan, then he could have both. Everyone had heard the two bet against each other. The third raised an eyebrow. Naruto gave a grin reminded of Madara when he was plotting something mischievous. The tournament then started and Naruto-san was announced as solid hand Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki, and Inoki-sama was announced as fallen King Inoki. The tournament started. I was able to make it until round 3 when blindfolds were introduced. The next round soaked everyone in water, and had some wind users created a cool breeze. Now soaking wet, cold, and blindfolded, the fourth round commenced. With only 25 people left, the tournament style changed a bit and names were randomly drawn. If you lose now, you had to face a humiliating punishment. Of course you could spare yourself if you forfeited. The two people who were drawn against Naruto-san chose to forfeit. Then the final 10 were chosen, and they were assigned numbers, and had to fight against the number higher than them to get a higher ranking. Naruto-san ascended to the top, Inoki-sama to second. After the hour had passed, they were able to do final challenges. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for as Inoki-sama challenged Naruto-san. The announcer stated it would be 5 rounds, but the crowd disagreed, wanting it to be longer. So they made it 7 rounds. The announcer asked if the crowd wanted anything else, and after having seen Naruto-san's skill believing he could humiliate Inoki-sama, he requested the rounds be played to full. The crowd agreed with my request. Fugaku gave a slight pause. Naruto-san dominated Inoki-sama in all of the rounds, could not win a single one. After the round was over, it was time for my honorary match in which I could use my Sharingan, which I could not before because that was obvious cheating. Cheating was allowed so long as they didn't find out how you were cheating. Everyone there knows Naruto-san is cheating somehow, and they respect him because they can't figure out how he is cheating. Here Fugaku took a deep breath. Naruto-san won against me using my Sharingan. I don't know how he did it, but he did. The third looked flatly at Naruto. I think I have an idea of how Naruto-kun won. Fugaku raised an eyebrow, but he continued on. Inoki-sama bowed down before Naruto-san, and proclaimed him the true master. But he wasn't able to do much more before his back caused him problems. The two then sat at a table, and they had to sit for hours signing things for fans. At one point I had to rescue Naruto-san from a group of girls who had surrounded him. Fugaku's lip twitching up revealed his still lasting amusement at the situation. After they were done, Inoki-sama treated us to dinner. After dinner we went to the hot springs and relaxed. The next day Naruto-san met up with Deidara, and the two sparred. The two chatted about explosives which Deidara called art. Fugaku pinched the bridge of his nose. Naruto-san then accessed the Kyuubi's chakra, and pushed it into the clay, trying to mimic Deidara's explosion-release bloodline. I came closer, weary of the Kyuubi's chakra breaking free, but Naruto seemed to have it under control. The two boys threw the marble-sized lump of clay and exploded it. The blast was larger than expected, and it was only due to my fast reaction of throwing up an earth dome, and tossing the two boys to the ground that saved us from serious injuries. Deidara wished for more of the highly destructive bombs Naruto-san could make. Naruto-san surprised me with formally requesting me to be his negotiator. Under the old laws, Deidara seemed to realize that Naruto was making the transaction formal, and had Inoki-sama be his negotiator. We hashed out a deal. Fugaku pulled out some papers and handed it to the Hokage. For each pound of clay Deidara wants, he has to pay 1 million ryo, and he cannot use those bombs against Konoha. The Hokage looked over the paperwork, and nodded. After that was done, Inoki-sama held up his other part of the bet, and taught Naruto Daten, Mobile Core. The day ended peacefully after that, and we left, with Inoki-sama, Deidara, and others actually coming to say goodbye, though for Inoki-sama, it was just to tell Naruto that he won't win next year. We decided that there was no rush in returning, so we went at average genin pace. 6 days later we arrived late at night. Seeing as to how late it was, I decided that we should report in the morning, and offered Naruto to stay at my place for the night. And then we arrived to find my clan slaughtered. The Hokage held up a hand. That is enough. Fugaku nodded. Is this what happened? The Hokage asked Naruto. Yep. Very well, now Fugaku Dano, are you going to tell me what the tournament is about? Naruto saw Fugaku's lip twitch upwards in amusement. It is one of the most fearsome competitions known to man. Spirits can be broken if you are not strong enough, he stated flatly. Sarutobi sighed. That would be a no then. Naruto beamed at Fugaku, who gave a nod to him. Suddenly he heard shouting. He tilted his head and turned to the wall just in time to see a flood of Shimmers come in. Uchiha Shimmers, who were pissed, and trying to attack the Hokage. Tobirama, Hashirama, and Madara immediately started pushing them back. Naruto! He heard the Hokage snap out. Turning, he sweat dropped. Sorry, I thought I heard something, he said. Knowing the Hokage would probably figure it had something to do with the Shimmers. Behind him the battle waged on. He twitched as a Kyune passed through him. The Hokage eyed him. Fugaku, could you leave us for a moment? The man frowned, giving a worried glance to Naruto, but he nodded, and left. What is it, Naruto-kun? Naruto raised a hand as he turned to glare at the fighting Shimmers. What the hell do you guys think you are doing barging into the Hokage's office like that? He shouted at the Shimmers. The Uchiha clan members, who had burst and startled looking at him. Tobirama sighed. Madara glared at them, and Hashirama beamed, taking his place behind Naruto again. You can see us? One of them asked, an older-looking male. Yes, I can. Now what are you lot doing barging into the office, and starting a fight like that? He ordered our clan to be massacred. One of the younger males snarled, pointing at the third. Really? Well, from what I understand, you were the ones planning the coup. And if I remember correctly, then if any clan is caught planning a coup, it is well within the rights of the Hokage to send an execution order. Especially if they have been unwilling to negotiate on the matters. Naruto stated, inwardly thanking Tobirama for his lessons on Konoha laws. You! The old man snarled, charging at him. Madara stepped in front of Naruto, easily stopping him. You would do well to not attack my charge, lest I send you to the next world forcefully, he stated, crossing his arms. Why are you siding with the demon brat? He obviously was in on us being killed. The old man shouted, seemingly the leader of the group. My charge was not aware of the massacre, only that you guys were foolishly planning a coup just because of a few false rumors. You lot are no better than children getting upset over a few measly words. Why should you care what Konoha thinks of you? The Uchiha clan is above such petty matters, and now that you are dead, I expect you to behave accordingly, or be sent to the next world, Madara stated, looking down at them. Naruto looked unimpressed as most of the members of the group started looking embarrassed. The old man at the front scoffed. Why should we listen to you? You're dead same as us. You can't do anything to stop us from doing what we want. Madara reappeared in front of the man, holding him by his throat in the air. No one except possibly Hashirama and Tobirama had seen him move. Very well then, if that is what you believe, I will be glad to force you to the next world. With that, Naruto saw a waft of what looked like smoke come out from the man, and into Madara. A few seconds later the shimmer disappeared completely. Damn, Naruto muttered, impressed. Madara smirked at him. Would anyone else like to challenge Madara? Naruto questioned, wishing he had popcorn. The group shook their heads and fled. Madara snorted. Wimps, looks like I have to make sure they follow the rules of the in-between if the current clan head cannot control them. Will you explain what is going on? Naruto-kun, the Hokage asked. Sorry, A group of Uchiha Shimmers came in and started fighting. After you dismissed Fugaku, I decided that since they weren't listening to Tobirama-sensei, Hashi-chan, or my guardian, then maybe they would listen to me since I'm living. They stopped, and they stated that you ordered their clan to be killed, which is well within your right as Hokage. Anyways, Guardian Shimmer took care of them now that they were paying attention. Sarutobi scowled. I did not order the massacre. Danzo did, pretending he had my permission. I sometimes hate your ability, you know, Sarutobi said, frowning at him. Naruto frowned, wondering why Tobirama rolled his eyes. Because you gain insight into all sorts of sensitive information you are not supposed to be privy to. Naruto stated the Hokage side. Is there anything you need to report about your trip to Iwa that you are unable to mention in front of Fugaku Dano? Not really. It was Madara that instructed me what to say for the formal negotiation though. I see. Is everything with the spirits good? I would recommend explaining what happened to the clan to Fugaku. It would be unwise if someone else, such as the Rouge Uchiha, were to explain it to him and twist the facts. Tobirama stated. Naruto relayed this. Naruto looked at them, and they nodded. Yeah, everything is good now. Sarutobi called Fugaku back in. Alright Naruto, you're dismissed, the Hokage told him. Naruto bowed and left. He was on his way back to his apartment, taking the side streets, when the commander appeared in front of him and commanded him to get changed. Naruto did, and the man took him for more training. After training with the commander for the day, Naruto returned to his apartment to fall asleep. After that, things started becoming normal again. A week after the massacre, Fugaku and Sasuke came to thank him for his help in getting the boy to the hospital. His training resumed, and the second year of the merged academy started. This year they focused on math and science at PE twice a month, and a couple more health classes. Naruto mostly tuned them out, his grade falling as he kept forgetting to turn the work in. When one of the teachers scolded him for this, he just shrugged, saying that he was going to be a shinobi, not a civilian. The teacher just frowned at that but left him alone. A half year passed by. Naruto was learning from Tobirama about politics while his hands continued with the three-step, slowly getting faster millisecond by millisecond. From Hashirama, the man taught him his mostly defensive taijutsu style. It was made so that you were defensive, but you could also easily do jutsus. Madara taught him his more aggressive style, which allowed him to attack, and also quickly break away to attack with jutsus. As for jutsus, Naruto now had a basic grasp on the basic 5 jutsus he had been gifted for his birthday. His best jutsu was the Wind Blade, and the Fireball, followed by the Earth Dome. His worst was the Water All, and the Shock Wave. That wasn't to say they weren't good. It was just harder for him to do those 2 jutsus when compared to the others. As for his training with the commander, he was now up to being able to process things at low jounin speed, and he himself could move at that speed without his weights, and with chakra. Without chakra he could go at average chunin speeds, and with his weights on, and no chakra, he go at high genin speed. He was still giving weekly reports to the Hokage about what his Shimmers told him from the spy network that was now fully in place and operational. As for his friendship with Shino, he and the boy were still best friends. As for Sasuke, he and the boy had been friends for a little bit. But Sasuke didn't like Shino, and forced Naruto to choose. Naruto chose Shino, which made his best friend really happy. He and Fugaku did eat dinner together once a month. The man seemed inclined to help him. Madara told him that Fugaku was trying to set up an alliance with him for when Naruto decided to reveal his heritage. Naruto still thought Fugaku was just being friendly. As for his personal studies, he was working on learning the seals from the basic seal book. He could make a basic storage seal that could only hold 1 item. He was working on making the more advanced copy. The small colony Shino gave him seemed to be changing. Some of them looked a bit different. So he was going to the Aburame clan with the colony to ask about it. Shino met him at the front door, and welcomed him inside. Naruto was led to a table, and he was seated after placing his colony on the table. His colony was contained in a medium-sized plastic container. There was an opening at the top which made it look as if the bugs could leave at any time, but the opening actually had a barrier seal which prevented them from leaving. Soon Shino's father Shibi came in. Naruto-san. The man greeted. Shibi-sama. Naruto responded politely. The man went to where the colony was placed, and seemed to be analyzing them. Then he placed his hand through the opening, and sent a few of his own Kakachu inside. They all watched in shock as Naruto's colony viciously attacked Shibi's Kakachu. His colony tore them apart, and they watched as they started feasting on the dead bodies. Naruto's eyes went wide. Interesting, you have been feeding them your chakra regularly, correct? Naruto nodded. Yeah. I just noticed that they seem different looking than when Shino originally gifted me the colony. I see my son mentioned you are colorblind. As such you cannot see that your colony has taken a red hue to them. Red. Naruto repeated with a frown, trying to figure out why the color was making him worry a bit. My chakra is red, brat. These bugs of yours have been feasting on your chakra which has mine mixed into it. Kirima told him, pulling him into his mindscape. Naruto gave a nod as he exited. Looking at Shibi he said, I see my chakra mutation seemed to have an effect on them. The man raised an eyebrow above his glasses. I understand. The man once more extended his hand over the colony, and seemed to be doing nothing. As I suspected, the colony will not respond to me. The man pushed up his glasses. Your Kakachu have evolved by feasting off your chakra. I wish to see if you can command them. The man stated. Okay, how do I do that? If we are to test this, I must have you swear to secrecy, Naruto-san. Naruto paused. Shifting his left leg he asked why. To his Shimmers to get an explanation. Most likely in order to test the theory they need to teach you something that is a clan jutsu. If it was not so then anybody can't control their bugs. Madara explained. Naruto gave a nod. Very well, Shibi-sama. The man nodded. In order to control the hive we set ourselves as the hive's queen. This is usually done at birth by allowing the Kakachu to colonize our bodies. This forms a bond between us and them. And we are able to mentally command them. It is generally instinctive to control them as we have them with us from our birth. The man paused to see if Naruto was following along. He was. You seem to have formed half a bond with them. They recognize you as their queen, but you don't know how to properly communicate with them. Which is what caused them to attack my Kakachu. Because they saw them as outsiders, and they can't communicate with you to ask what to do, so they seem to default to aggressiveness. Also, I need to learn how to communicate with them then. Indeed. Though you will never have the full bond of your colony living inside your body, to do so now would be dangerous for you. Still we will provide you with a gourd so you can bring your Kakachu with you if you can form the proper bond that is, and command your Kakachu. Shibi stated. Naruto nodded. I thank you for this honor, Shibi-sama. It would be a waste to not have your Kakachu be used for fighting. Shibi said in return. Shibi took his colony, and led him to an empty room. This room is a bonding room. It is typically used when our colonies have suffered serious losses, and we need to bring new Kakachu to our colony, so that they don't die off. Sit and then open your colony, and feed them. When you feel them pulling on your chakra, that is the best time to try and connect your mind to the hive mind. It may take a while, and they may even become filled up. But so long as they are on your skin you should be able to connect with the hive mind. Once you find the connection they no longer need to be on your skin. Naruto gave a nod. He placed his hand through the opening, and watched as the colony swarmed around it and started pulling his chakra. He had long since gotten used to the feeling. He held his hand there for hours trying to feel their minds. Eventually they did stop feeding. Though as more and more hours passed Shibi told him that they were done for today, and that he was to come back every day after the academy until he could connect his mind to the Kakachu. 5 days later it was Saturday, and Naruto was once again sitting in the bonding room with his hand inside of the container. Deciding to ask Kirima if he could think of how Naruto might be able to connect with the hive mind, he went into his mindscape, and stared in shock as he saw the relatively small colony there flying around the room. So you finally decided to come here? Took you long enough, brat. Kirima said with a scoff. They're here in my mindscape. Naruto questioned. Yes, and now that you realize that, focus your attention on them. Try to feel the connection between you and them. Once you can feel the connection in here, then focus on feeling that same connection in the real world. Kirima told him. Naruto nodded and sat cross-legged on top of the ground. He focused trying to feel the connection. Having no sense of time in his mindscape, he had no idea how long it was. But it felt like forever when he felt the connection between him and the colony. He could hear their buzzing softly, though he didn't understand what they were saying, if anything. Opening his eyes he saw that the room was now pitch black, and that Shibi and Shino were gone. Shrugging he felt for the connection. Slowly the room lightened, light coming in through the window. Shibi came in, and watched him. An hour later Naruto finally found the faint connection, which now that he found it, was easy to feel. The faint buzzing that was the colony's hive mind. He blinked and looked up at Shibi. I found the connection. Prove it by commanding your colony to get of your hand. Shibi stated. Naruto nodded, and wondering how to do that he focused on the connection. Hello. He called out inside his head to the buzzing. Please get off my hand. He requested. He heard the buzzing change a bit and the Kakachu left his hand. Very good. I will bring in a gourd to hold your colony. Shibi said as he left and came back. He was holding a gourd that looked relatively small. This is a 5-gallon gourd. It is placed sideways on your lower back. He stated. Until your colony becomes larger this will do. How do I make my colony large, Shibi-sama? They always seem to stay around this size. Now that you are learning how to control them, we will give you another small colony to incorporate into yours. That will give you enough to fill this gourd halfway. And it should be enough that they can slowly expand on their own. Though it will take time for you to get your colony up to the amount normal Aburame has. If we were to add too many normal Kakachu, your colony could lose whatever special abilities they have developed from feasting on your chakra. Naruto nodded and commanded his colony to stay in the gourd that it was their new home. He could feel that they seemed pleased. Now to bond with these you should do the same process, though it will be much easier now that you know what you're looking for. You will temporarily have two bonds, until you tell them to merge into one hive. Naruto nodded and stuck his hand in. Unlike before, he could easily find the second connection. And then he merged the two hives together. He released the Kakachu from the plastic container, and they flew the gourd. Good, now I'm sure that you know about the basic abilities of Kakachu. Yes, Naruto stated. You may find that yours have something special related to the chakra mutation you have. It will take some experimentation though before you might find what the ability can be or abilities, Shibi stated. Please come by every month so we can check on you and your colony. Okay, until your colony is a higher size, do not do anything to risk them. Once they do become higher size, and they stabilize their genes from feasting on your chakra, we will harvest a starter colony from them to see if we can find someone else who can use them. That is what we want for giving you a clan secret? I understand. Shibi nodded and dismissed him. Naruto went back to his apartment and after removing the gourd he collapsed in exhaustion. Hashirama chuckled at him and Madara rolled his eyes. Both were amused that because of Kurama's chakra Naruto had become an honorary Aburame, which Naruto was about ready to start training with on tail of Kurama's chakra. Though he was only allowed to train the chakra with an Anbu called Tenzo, it was because the man had a mockery of the Makudan, given to him by one of Orochimaru's experiments. As the time passed he continued his training. His birthday came and went. The third had given him the next book up for sealing, which Naruto was now getting the hang of. Fugaku had given him a scroll containing the Great Fireball Jutsu, which Naruto appreciated even if he didn't need. The Anbu had given him a pouch to hold clay in. The pouch was actually bigger on the inside though due to some seals, it had a little bit of clay in it. Naruto had been experimenting with using Kurama's chakra to create the explosive clay, and he had 2 levels so far. The light stuff, which was a pound of clay with the bare minimum of Kurama's chakra he could put in it, which led to explosions about twice the size as an exploding tag, and the big stuff, which was the marble with the small amount of chakra. Those were level 1 and 2, and of course he could make some that were big up to the level 2. It just depended on the amount of clay he had when he put Kurama's chakra into it. Kurama and Madara were looking forward to seeing what putting in a whole tail's worth of chakra would do. Hashirama was scared, as was everyone else, who knew about the explosive clay Naruto could make. Kurama and him had an interesting relationship. The fox was grumpy, but it loved anything destructive. Over the 4 months since he had gotten his colony they had grown a little bit. Not much though, but he and Kurama had discovered that the Kakachu easily handled the Biju's chakra, and could develop chakra cloaks of their own. Though it barely took a drop of chakra for them to cloak the whole colony in the Biju's chakra. During an examination Naruto had been shown the physical difference between his Kakachu and the standard. The standard's main body was ovalish with ridges, and 6 legs. His had that, but its head had 2 ear-like appendages, and it also had 1 tail appendage that waved around, which was new from 4 months ago because they didn't have a tail then. Shibi said that he felt they would evolve to possibly up to 9 tails. Naruto had nodded in understanding. According to Shibi, his Kakachu were tinted red, and their eyes were blood red instead of green. Anyways, the 2 months till December passed quickly, and Naruto was getting ready to make another trip to Iwa. He had missed Itara and Inoki, even Kuratsuchi, even if he didn't know her as well as the other 2. She was seemingly the only girl his age there who didn't fangirl over him though. The 8-year-old boy went to go make his request. Entering the Hokage's office he smiled at the old man. Hey Gigi, it's time for the tournament again. Indeed it is. Will you tell me what the tournament is this time? Nope. I see. Well, I have a guard for you. I will have him meet you at the gate tomorrow morning at 7. If he's not there on time, feel free to head out by yourself, and just tell the guards. They will inform your guard. Cool, thanks old man. Naruto stated, hugging him. Of course, now I believe the Aburame wanted to see you before you left. Really? Okay, I'll go see them then. Naruto stated and turned to leave. He made his way to the clan grounds waving as he passed a few Aburame, and sticking his tongue out at a Hyuga who scowled at him. Arriving at the Aburames he entered into the house waving back at members who greeted him. Most of the Aburame clan liked him. There were a few members who didn't care about him, but they didn't go out of their way to antagonize like some people did. Hey Shibi-sama, Gigi told me you wanted to see me before I leave. He questioned, bounding over to the man. Yes, since your Kakachu are so different than normal, they seem to be becoming their own breed. We have decided to name the species. We of course will respect your opinion if you have a different thought as to what to name them. We were thinking to name them Bijukachu. Naruto sounded it out a couple times, What about just Pikachu? Not as obvious as to their origins, and it sounds better to say. Shibi nodded. Very well. Besides for that, your colony has started to become bigger, and as such we are giving you a slightly larger gourd, he said, gesturing. Another clan member stepped forward, handing the gourd, which was twice the size of his current one. It was still small enough though to go sideways. Once the 10-gallon one became full, he would have just enough Pikachu to form a bug clone, though if he did that it would wipe out most of his colony, so he wasn't going to do that. He relocated his Pikachu to the new container. One final thing, you told us that you were going to Iwa to partake in a formal tournament, and we do not know if you have the clothes, but we thought that these formal clothes would be an acceptable gift, Shibi stated, handing over a package. Naruto beamed. Thank you, Shibi-sama. He thanked the man as he grabbed the package. Naruto left and soon he was training with Tenzo for the One-Tails chakra. He had relative control over it, though if anything got him angry he lost control, and went berserk. But he was getting better control of it. It now took longer to anger him in the One-Tail cloak. Kurama also had him working on the physical transformation, which would protect him once he reached the version 2 state. The version 1 state wouldn't eat away at his cells like the version 2 state. He said that even if he held a version 1 state up at 9 tails for an entire year, it would only take a month off of his life. It was the version 2 that would eat away at his life, which was why he had to have the physical transformation down, which would make him look like a fox-human hybrid. He could easily transform his nails into claws. It took a bit of concentration, but he could make for sprout from his hands. He was working on doing that to the rest of his body. If he concentrated really hard he could completely transform his hand. But he could only hold it for 10 seconds if he wasn't concentrating. Done with training for today, Naruto went to go eat, and then went to sleep. The next day he got up, grabbed his stuff, and went to the gate. At 7 he saw no sign of guard. Waiting for 30 minutes he frowned before shrugging. Gigi had given him permission to go ahead. Turning to the gate guards he let them know he was heading out. He headed at high genin speeds, since he now knew that the tournament took place on December 12th and he had left on the 5th, so he would have plenty of time to get there. This year he scheduled so he could stay 3 days, one before the tournament and once after the tournament, or if he was overly slow about getting there then 2 days after the tournament. 5 hours later, and a man appeared next to him. Naruto wasn't surprised as Ashirama had alerted him, and that he was a Konoha ninja. Hiya! Are you my guard? Naruto asked. Yes I am. You left without me, the man stated flatly. Naruto looked and was surprised to see a familiar patch of hair. Oh hey Inu. Naruto greeted. Inu sighed. I'm not in my mask, Naruto. Oh yo, why don't you have one of those color-changing masks? Your hair is the same shade and style as when you wear the mask. I never felt the need. Inu responded. After Sloth sleeping on his job, Inu had forced the Hokage to assign him to his personal guard. Tobirama told him that he had threatened to burn Seru's Icha Icha collection. Since he was on his personal guard, Inu learned about his ability to see shimmers. What's your name then? Kakashi. The man answered, pulling out an orange book. Hashirama twitched. Tell him not to read that trash in front of you. Hashi-chan says that you're not to read that trash in front of me. Kakashi gave an eye grin. What is he going to do about it if I don't? Hashirama grinned as he clapped his hands, and a look of concentration appeared on his face as he then placed his hands on Naruto's shoulders. He felt a peaceful chakra wash over him. The branch Kakashi was just about to land on moved away from him, dropping the man to the ground below. Naruto jumped after him. Hashirama looked exhausted. That, Naruto stated flatly. It was a new ability that is Shimmers to use jutsus, but doing so consumed a lot of their spiritual chakra, so they had to be careful to not exhaust themselves. Not that Kakashi knew that. As you can see, Hashi-chan can still use his Makyuten, so no reading that trash in front. Naruto stated, rolling his eyes. Madara smirked. Of course, if he wants to read it behind you, I am all for it. The man stated with a lecherous grin. Hashirama's eye twitched. Dara-chan. He growled. What can you really blame a guy for wanting some entertainment? I haven't had any action in over like 80 years. I read a little bit of the book, and to imagine a girl like Madara, stated, waggling his eyebrows. Naruto covered his ears with a yelp. Dara-chan. Naruto shouted at him. Madara cackled. Kakashi raised an eyebrow. Perverted Uchiha. Naruto informed him, as he took his hands of his ear. Kakashi stated. Dara-chan says to read the book behind me since Hashi-chan says no reading it in front of me. The man shrugged, and went to stand behind him as he pulled out the orange book again. Naruto knew that Madara was going to stand behind Kakashi, and read the book as well. Pervert. He and Hashirama deadpanned, at the same time. I'm a super pervert. A voice shouted as a man appeared in front of them with a grin. Who the hell are you? Naruto asked, coming to a stop, and getting into a defensive stance. He seemed strangely familiar, like Naruto should recognize him from somewhere. Mama, it's okay Naruto-kun. That there's Jiraiya of the Sannin. Naruto blinked and then nodded. Ah, okay, it was him. His godfather. Now that he looked, he could see the resemblance the man had to his picture. He remembered Tobirama grumbling about the man before, saying that his spy network was pathetic, and that the man mostly perved on women, and wrote the trash he called literature. When Saratobi found out just how little Jiraiya's information was compared with Naruto, he was greatly upset. And then of course they had told him he was his godfather. Adopting a more Madara-like posturing, he crossed his arms. So you are the pathetic supposed spy master. What a joke. Madara raised an eyebrow and smirked at him. Ha. You knew exactly what I was going to say. Naruto just smirked. Jiraiya blinked. Pathetic spy master. He repeated with a twitch. Yep, our little Naruchan is a much better spy master. Hashirama chirped. Not that Jiraiya could hear him. Of course, Kakashi stated with a shrug. Sandaime-sama has found a new spy master who provides better information, and is a lot faster than your system. He said that while flipping through Icha. I see. Jiraiya stated. His voice seemed oddly dead-sounding. This is old news by now, though only a few people are aware of the fact, and even fewer know who it is. Kakashi said idly. Oh, what are you doing out here anyways, especially with the brat? Why does everyone call me a brat? Anyways, I'm making my yearly trip to Iwa. Jiraiya looked like he was constipated as his face got a weird look. You are going to Iwa? He choked out. Yes, it's my yearly trip. This is my second year doing it. You. Naruto wondered why the man couldn't comprehend that simple fact. Adopting his Tobirama stance and posture, he looked down at the man, well up at him. But still, is it really so hard to comprehend that someone wants to go to another village? He questioned. Madara facepalms. And now you predicted what Tobirama would say down to a T. Hashirama nodded in agreement. Jiraiya twitched. Am I really that out of the loop? He murmured to himself. Yes, now if you will excuse us, we need to continue on our journey. Naruto stated as he smiled brightly, his posture relaxing into the more friendly posture Hashirama held himself. That is actually kinda creepy that he can mimic us so well. Hashirama whispered to Madara. Come on Kaka-chan. Forward to Iwa. Naruto cheered, jumping forward amongst the branches. The white-haired man rolled his eye but followed after him, reading his book. Jiraiya is following us. He is higher up in the branches above you. Madara stated. So Toad-san, and why are you following us? He asked, looking up. He couldn't see the man, but he trusted his Shimmers. The Sannin dropped down next to him, hoping next to him. Iwa is dangerous territory. I don't know what my sensei was thinking letting you come with only one guard, so I will valiantly offer my assistance. Naruto scoffed. Whatever, just do not get in my way. He stated. Do you have multiple personality disorder or something, kid? Nah, he just likes to act like his favorite people would. Kakashi answered. Though. Neither of them answered him. Say brat, what is your name? You know who I am. Otherwise you would not act so frantic about me going to Iwa, especially since you are out of the loop. I'm really starting to not like you, brat. And I really do not like you. Naruto retorted. The man blinked. Geez, lighten up, kid. What did I do to offend you so much? Oh, let us see, shall we? Naruto stated, stopping and turning to the man glaring at him viciously. Jiraiya flinched. You run away from your duties as my godfather, with a flimsy excuse that you need to uphold your spy network, a network which is pathetic, and majorly behind on any of the intel it gets. You instead choose to spend your time perving on women, and writing that porn you try, and pass off as literature, and not once do you visit me. Not once have you even sent me a gift on my birthday or for Christmas. So what did you do to offend me? You were a crappy godfather. Where were you when the villagers avoided me? Where were you when they called me a demon for the burden I carry? Where were you when a drunk villager stabbed my eyes? Where the hell were you when I got kidnapped? Tell me, Jiraiya. Where were you? Naruto spat out. There was a silence before he continued on. You were perving on woman writing those stupid books. After he spat all of that out, he clenched his mouth shut. He hadn't meant to say some of that stuff. Jiraiya stared in shock. Let's go, Kakashi. Naruto stated, turning away from the man. A few minutes later, Kakashi jumped to the same branch as him, his book put away. Mama, wasn't that a bit harsh, Naruto? No. Naruto stated flatly. To harsh would be letting Darachan verbally rip into him. And Hashi-chan, when we learned about him, and that he was my godfather, they were pissed. I see. Kakashi said. Hey Darachan. Hashirama started dodging a fireball Madara sent towards him. Why do you let Naruchan call you Darachan, but not me? Madara rolled his eyes. For one, because he uses it so he is not throwing my name about where that perv can't hear, since he is still following us. Naruto twitched. Toad is still following us. Naruto subtly signed to Kakashi. If you are going to follow us, you don't have to hide it. Kakashi called out lazily. Jiraiya came from the side. How did you two know I was there? Neither answered him. I'm sorry, Naruto. Jiraiya apologized. Make him sweat. If you don't talk to him at all and ignore him, he will become more and more desperate to get you to forgive him. You might get something out of it. Hashirama suggested, for once being a bit mean. Madara nodded in agreement. Hey Kakashi, let's kick up the pace a bit. Lo Chunin. Kakashi nodded and Naruto took off, pushing his chakra into his legs. Over the next 5 days Jiraiya tried to talk with him, but Naruto just ignored him, though he happily talked with Kakashi. They even played a few rounds of Janken, though apparently Jiraiya hated the game. When Naruto had heard that he had actually stared at the man in horror, he shook his head. He could not accept the man if he didn't like Janken. Jiraiya tried apologizing. He tried to ask him about some of the stuff he had mentioned. Naruto could see that Kakashi wanted to ask about it as well, but he didn't. When they finally got into Iwa territory, Naruto put on his Iwa headband. Jiraiya twitched. Kakashi rolled his eyes. Naruto had told him one night in the Anbu sign language after Jiraiya had fallen asleep. Since he had Jiraiya to be his victim, he told Kakashi what to expect. He got to the gates and was waved in. This man is with me as my guard. Naruto pointed to Kakashi. I don't care about the other man. He hates Janken. Naruto stated, shaking his head. Everyone within hearing distance turned to see who Naruto was pointing at. Naruto smirked. Jiraiya would not have a pleasant time. Let's go, Kakachan. Naruto stated as he turned and walked away. The guards had allowed Kakashi through, hearing that he was Naruto's guard. They started hassling Jiraiya. Mama, that was mean. Kakashi stated lightly. So, I approve, the man said, giving a nice smile. I knew I liked you. Naruto stated happily. Madara gave a nod of approval. Let it be said that Kakashi was vicious to those who hurt the people he cared about. To Inoki Oji-san's office. The two made their way to the office. Naruto burst in with a grin. Hey, he greeted, throwing himself onto the chair. Brat. Inoki grunted in greeting, still doing paperwork. I'm so going to crush you in the tournament this year. But I managed to acquire a stalker on my way here. Jiraiya of the Sannin. And get this, he hates Janken. Naruto stated viciously. He was going to make Jiraiya suffer. Inoki looked up. I see, and Jiraiya was the teacher of that blasted Namikaze. The old man cackled. So why are you making him suffer? Naruto scowled. He was supposed to be my godfather. He didn't even send me a gift or anything, instead choosing to perv on woman than to do his duties. Inoki gave a nod. All right, well, the hotel is expecting you, he stated. And I'm going to crush you this year, brat. How you wish, old man. Naruto scoffed with a grin. A knock at the door came, and Inoki called the man in. It was unsurprisingly Jiraiya. What can I do for you, Jiraiya of the Sannin? Inoki questioned flatly. I'm just here as one of this brat's guard. Naruto scoffed. That is unusual. Naruto only had one guard last year. Inoki stated. The toad pervert invited himself along, Oji-san. Naruto whined, glaring at the man. Jiraiya gaped. I see, well, only one guard is allowed into the tournament halls. I assume it is going to be Kakashi of the Sharingan. Naruto nodded. Yep. Inoki glared at Jiraiya. We don't appreciate you stalking one of our honorary shinobi, especially since you were the teacher of that blasted Namikaze. He grouched. Jiraiya twitched. The door was thrown open, and two people burst in. Old man. They called out. Naruto turned and beamed when he saw it was Deidara and Kuratsuchi. You are here. They cheered. I have been saving up money to buy another pound of the clay from you. Deidara stated, bouncing around. It has been a lifesaver. Naruto beamed. I'm going to beat you and the old man in the tournament. Kuratsuchi declared with a grin. Tournament? You guys keep mentioning this. What is it? Iwa's secret. Inoki stated flatly. Kids, this is the sensei of the blasted Namikaze. Even has the same views as him. The two kids looked properly horrified. Come on, Naruto-kun. Let's get away from him. Kuratsuchi stated, grabbing him and dragging him away. Naruto grinned, and the trio ran off, gossiping about Jiraiya with other kids who took off to spread the word. Jiraiya hated Janken. He and his two friends spent the rest of the day together, sparring and training mostly until night had fallen. The group ate at a nice restaurant. Jiraiya had found them after a few hours. He seemed disgruntled. Kakashi just meandered behind the group reading Icha-Icha. Naruto went to the hotel and checked in the receptions, being really helpful as he got his room key. Naruto smiled and went to the room, throwing himself on the comfortable bed beside in replacement. He loved coming to Iwa. The young boy fell asleep with a smile on his face. He woke up and got dressed in the formal clothes the Aburame clan had gifted him. It was a high-collar coat that Madara said was in fact a light gray. On the back was the leaf emblem he usually had embroidered on all of his clothes. Hashirama told him it was a leafy green color. It came with black pants and a dark orangish red shirt. Again, color information provided by the Shimmers. Then he did his hair with Madara's help. Who could be such a girl when it came to hair? Seriously, the man would sometimes spend an hour, or more, when he didn't think anybody was watching, trying to fix his hair in the mirror. Naruto exited out of his room, and down to the lobby before he saw Kakashi, who was sitting on a couch reading his book. The man got up, and fell and stepped behind him. As soon as they walked out of the building, Jiraiya appeared. They went to the stadium, and Naruto and Kakashi were allowed in while Jiraiya was blocked. Finally, Naruto muttered, "HMPF indeed. Now we can begin the real fun," Inoki stated, making a beeline for him. "You bet, I've held this title for 2 years now, old man. I'm not letting you have it back." Naruto grinned. "Well, let's make a new Vire this year. You lose one hand, and you have to forfeit. You only say that because you know that it would take a miracle to get me to even lose one hand," Naruto said, rolling his eyes. Inoki grumbled but didn't deny it. "If you win, I'll give you a jutsu." "Sounds like a deal, old man." The two shook hands. This time they were aware everyone was listening into them. "WOOO go, solid hand Naruto." The crowd cheered. "Reclaim your throne, fallen king." Another section of the crowd cheered. Hours passed with the tournament going strong when finally it was time for Naruto to fight against Inoki. Now for the round everyone has been looking for. The fallen king Inoki is challenging solid hand Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki, slayer of the wicked eyes, for title of Janken King. The announcer called out, "Gah, how do you do it?" Inoki grumbled as he lost. "It's a secret," Naruto stated as he grinned as he stood above the defeated man. The crowd descended upon them as they sat at the table ready to sign. Eventually they were done. Squad Earth came over to him. "Man, it's been a while, Naruto-kun. I missed the tournament last year due to a mission, but I'm glad I could see it this year," a woman greeted. Naruto blinked, trying to remember her name. He knew she was the woman who kidnapped him. "That's Chikayu," Madara reminded him. He beamed. "Hey Chikayu." She grinned. "The boys and I were about to go to the hot springs. Want to come?" Asking him Inoki, Deidara, and Kuratsuchi. "Sure." Naruto agreed. Seconds later he was swept up by a Subaruto who placed him on his shoulder. They exited the stadium amongst cheers. They went to the hot springs where Naruto and the other guys relaxed on one side, with Chikayu and Kuratsuchi on the other side. After a while of relaxing in the hot water, only interrupted once by Jiraiya giggling loudly and the woman invoking their womanly wrath on him. Anyways, after that interrupt the group went to a nice restaurant and ate a large dinner. Jiraiya and Fornalty joined them, which turned the affair more quiet. None of them were going to tell him what the tournament was about. "Hey Naruto, here's the money. I'll bring the clay tomorrow so you can make the good stuff," Deidara said in a dreamy voice, his eyes lighting up and pyromaniacally. "Of course, Saoji-san. Is there a place where I can test out a larger explosive nearby? I want to know just how big the explosion can get." Deidara looked at him in wonder. "Sorry Deidara, but Gigi has already banned me from selling this. He wouldn't even let me test it in one of the training fields. Speaking of which, tell me tomorrow if you were able to incorporate some of my ideas from last year." The boy pouted but shrugged. "Good, Deidara doesn't need anything stronger than what he has. Explosions are not art. But yeah, we have a training field a few miles away from the city, which is mostly used for explosions, or the testing of any dangerous techniques," Inoki stated. They finished dinner, and Naruto returned to the hotel, after running from fangirls, and fell asleep dreaming of white-hot explosions. He woke up, and went to find Deidara, Kakashi and Jiraiya falling in step behind him. With Hashirama finding the boy's chakra, they found him eating some Bikuten. Naruto joined him, and then the two boys left to go to the explosive field. Inoki came up to them. "I don't trust his reactions to be fast enough if the explosion ends up bigger than expected," Inoki grumbled, glaring at Jiraiya. Then he turned to Kakashi. "I don't know if the brat told you what happened the first time he used his chakra mutation to make the explosive, but I'm not risking them being injured by us being underprepared, so when we get there, activate that Sharingan of yours." Kakashi dipped his head slightly in acknowledgement. The group of 5 arrived at the training field. "Kakashi, make sure that the toad doesn't do anything foolish," Naruto called out to him. Kakashi gave him a thumbs up. Naruto took out a small marble size of clay. "Deidara, when I first did this, I put the smallest amount of chakra I could into it. Now I'm going to put a huge chunk of that destructive chakra in this small piece," he stated, giggling manically. It was okay though, because Deidara was right there with him. Going into his mindscape, he and the fox shared similar manically grins for the destruction they were about to cause. "Let's do this, brat," the fox stated. Naruto opened his eyes, and felt the chakra flow into the little lump of chakra. Slowly he watched the clump change from a whitish gray into a darker shade of gray. Glancing at Jiraiya, he saw that man was too shocked to do anything to interrupt the process. "Done," the fox said, wiggling its tails happily. Naruto placed the little thing down on the ground, then he retreated far away. Once he felt he was a safe distance away, he backed away another few hundred feet. The rest of the group followed him, nodding at the others. He formed some hand signs, and did the Daten Jutsu to give them a high aerial view, and as a kind of showing off to Inoki. Not bad, Inoki stated. Ready? Naruto stated. Kakashi lifted up his headband. Alright, let's see this show. Deidara cheered. Naruto held up his hands. Katsu, he shouted. A second passed, and Jiraiya scoffed. And then boom! The group was luckily far enough away as the blast made a 5-foot deep crater straight through solid rock, and it was 10 feet round. They could see that the rock at the side was actually liquefied and slowly melting down to the bottom. He and Deidara grinned at each other, and Madara cackled in the background. Hashirama stood as far away from as he could. Art is an explosion, Deidara crowed. Speaking of art, have you been able to incorporate any of the ideas I suggested last year? Naruto asked as he ended the jutsu, lowering them to the ground. Inoki snorted. Yeah, I figured out how to change the color of the explosion. I have only figured out how to do one color at a time so far. As for the shapes, I'm still working on it as well, Deidara said. I want to see. Madara stated, beaming manically, looking every bit as crazy as the history books made. Would you mind showing us? Kakashi asked before Naruto had a chance to make the request. Sure, no problem. Deidara pulled out a few lumps of clay that Naruto could see were varying shades of gray. He tossed and exploded them. The explosions were relatively small, and though Naruto was unable to see the colors, he could tell they were different from the varying shades of gray. Inoki shook his head and left. Naruto noticed the boy watch from the corner of his eye as Inoki left. Deidara clenched his fist. Naruto placed his hand on the older boy's shoulder and smiled. That was so cool, Tetebeo. I may not be able to see colors, but the explosions were varying shades of gray. Man, I wish I could see the colors. I bet it would be very artistic. Naruto rambled to the other boy. Deidara grinned. Of course it's artistic. The fleeting moment of the explosion, the quick burst of color, it's art, Naruto and Madara nodded rapidly, paying rapt attention. Inside of its cage, Kurama was also nodding. This is a wise fleshbag indeed. The 4 pyromaniacs enjoyed a few more hours of explosions. Kakashi continued reading his Icha. And Jiraiya? Well, he was just trying to stay alive from the 2 boys throwing small explosions at him. He volunteered. At least Madara said he did. Naruto trusted Madara, especially since Hashirama backed him up. Who was he to disagree with 2 of the founders? It was completely inconsequential when Jiraiya couldn't see the Shimmers, nor even know of their existence. Back in Konoha, the third sighed and banged his head. The second was frowning, and he muttered, "Why do I feel like I am missing someone receiving some well-deserved punishment?" The 2 boys cackled as they sent their low-yield explosives at the Toad Sage, who was dodging them amidst trying to get the boys to stop. They didn't, at least not until their low-yield explosives ran out. It was a perfectly good waste of clay. Eventually Inoki came back with a scroll. He tossed it to Naruto. Here's your jutsu, brat. Forming the bird hand sign, he smirked and said, Daten. Falling earth spears. Big spears of rock suddenly came out of the ground. Cool, Naruto stated and opened the scroll to start learning the jutsu. The rest of the day was spent with Deidara trying to figure out how to shape his explosions once they go off. Kakashi watched with interest as the 2 boys practiced. Naruto-kun, when you're doing the jutsu, try to mold your chakra into spikes. Deidara-san, what do you know about shape transformation? Not much, Deidara answered. Well, shape transformation is an advanced form of chakra control. It involves changing the form and movement of chakra, which allows you to modify the size, range, and purpose of a technique. So if you learn how to utilize shape transformation, then you should be able to use it to change your shape of the chakra. The boy's eyes widened. How do I learn shape transformation? Kakashi rubbed the back of his head. Oh, I can't help with that, sorry. Each person usually learn it in their own way, though clans have similar styles. I see. Thank you, Kakashi-san. Deidara said, bowing politely. Then he turned back to his clay and started fidgeting with it, bringing out a set of sculpting tools as he stuck his tongue out, obviously thinking. Naruto was working on his jutsu and was now making a bit of progress on it. The day came to an end, and Naruto went to sleep. The next day he got up and checked out of the hotel. After having to run away from the fangirls once more, he made his way to the front gate. His friends came to say goodbye to him as well as Inoki. I'll beat you next year, brat, Inoki stated with a smirk. Keep dreaming, old man, Naruto retorted, smirking back. And you, Toad-san, don't return, ever? We don't take kindly to you and that blasted Namikaze student of yours wicked ways. Jiraiya twitched, not so subtly looking at Naruto. At least that blasted Namikaze's son here doesn't follow his and yours wicked evil ways, Inoki stated. Jiraiya gaped. What, you thought that they didn't know of my heritage? Naruto asked, giving Uchiha expression number 7, or really that much of an idiot. The man pouted. The trio left and started the trip back to Konoha, Naruto ignoring all attempts of conversation Jiraiya tried to start. After a day of traveling, Naruto removed the Iwa headband, storing it away in one of the many sealing scrolls he had. 4 days after that they arrived back at Konoha. Jiraiya he looked at his student's son back. He had no idea what to think of Naruto. The boy seemed to hate him, and well, he could understand it. He hadn't been there for him at all. He had yet to even give the boy a gift. He had been planning to send the boy a gift once he got older. Where were you when a drunk villager stabbed my eyes? Where the hell were you when I got kidnapped? Naruto's words echoed in his mind. He had tried to learn more about what he meant by that, but the boy was tight like a clam. Kakashi didn't know anything about Naruto's eyes, but he did say that a couple years ago Naruto got kidnapped by Iwa, and then Kumo, where he learned of his heritage and his burden. When he came back, he called the kidnapping experience a vacation. Then there was that gourd on his back. Jiraiya felt as if he should recognize where it was from, but he couldn't. You run away from your duties as my godfather, with a flimsy excuse that you need to uphold your spy network, a network which is pathetic and majorly behind on any of the intellect gets. You instead choose to spend your time perving on women and writing that porn you try and pass off as literature, and not once do you visit me. The boy's words floated through his head as he watched the back of Minato's son. He could almost see Minato staring at him with disapproving eyes. He had, though his spy network was pretty good, but Naruto was proof that he was behind. To haven't even gotten wind that Naruto had been kidnapped, nor the fact that he was apparently some kind of famous champion in Iwa. It was inexcusable, of course. Sandaime-sama has found a new spy master who provides better information, and is a lot faster than your system. His own sensei had apparently replaced him. Who could be better than him? Looks like he was out of his job. Then they arrived at the village gates, and they were welcomed back. It was once they were inside that Jiraiya felt as if he had been slapped in the face with a rotten fish. The villagers were glaring at Naruto, and they avoided him, purposely going out of their way to stay away from him. Compared to Iwa, he could see why Naruto loved the village hidden in the stones. There he was treated like a normal person. Actually, he was more of treated like a hero there in Iwa, even despite being the son of Minato. Here, in Konoha, his own home, he was treated as a demon. He carried. You were a crappy godfather. Where were you when the villagers avoided me? Where were you when they called me a demon for the burden I carried? He had thought that it was only a few villagers, just enough for the young boy to notice. Not every single civilian they came across. He couldn't find one villager treating Naruto like the hero he was. Minato's last wish had been failed. It had been spat upon and trashed by the village who loved him. Kakashi had told him about Naruto's choice to keep his heritage a secret, about his dream of becoming recognized by the village for his own talents and strength, and to become Hokage. He could respect that, but seeing how the villagers treated his student son, it was despicable. But what he had done was worse. It was his duty to take care of Naruto, to be there for him, and he had failed. Where were you? Repeated in his head. I was perving on women, writing thought to himself in shame. Kakashi's famous saying came to mind: those who abandon the mission are scum. Those who abandon their teammates are worse than scum. What would that make him then? Someone who had abandoned family. The only thing he could do was beg the boy for forgiveness, and try to be the godfather he should have been. Naruto, I promise you I won't let you down again, he promised in his head as they arrived at the Hokage Tower. And Naruto, they arrived back in Konoha, and made their way to the Hokage Tower. Naruto burst in the room, and blinked when he realized that someone else was in the room. Then he realized it was Fugaku. Oh, Naruto-san, I see you have returned from your trip. How was the tournament this year? Fugaku asked. It was awesome, man. I defeated Oji-san again, and Deidara-kun, you remember him? Yeah, Fugaku gave a nod. Well, he has been working really hard on his art, and has added colors. I wish I could see them. Oh, I also got to test my new one-tail marble. It completely decimated the ground it was on. The crater it made was like 5 feet deep, and 10 feet wide, and the walls of the crater were melting. Naruto rambled on, excited. Impressive. I might have to buy some of those marbles from you. They could be useful in a pinch. Fugaku mused. Just don't be within 120 feet of them, Kakashi warned. Naruto only mentioned the aftermath of the direct sight. If it had been a forest, the trees in a 50-foot radius would be ash, and up to about 120 feet they would be burning. Fugaku nodded. I shall arrange a meeting with you later so we can discuss price. Those beads. I will be my own negotiator if you would like to find someone negotiate for you. Of course, Naruto said. I see you have also brought back my student, Sarutobi stated, looking at Jiraiya, who was sulking in the corner. We unfortunately came across him on our way to Iwa. Naruto grouched, turning away from Jiraiya. I'm sorry, Please forgive me, Naruto. Jiraiya once more pleaded. No, I see how was this year's tournament. I won. As expected, Naruto said with a smirk. What was the tournament? Not telling. Naruto told him with a grin. Kak. Did you say something? The man asked, his nose in his book. Jiraiya. Sarutobi asked hopefully. I don't know what it was. They wouldn't let me in. In fact, Iwa now hates me almost as much as they hated Minato. They only allowed me to stay because I was guarding Naruto, who they adore, and I don't get it. How can they adore Naruto, who is blood related to Minato, but hate me, and my only relationship is being his teacher? Jiraiya ranted, throwing his hands up. I don't know, but I suspect Naruto knows the answer, and possibly Kakashi. And Fugaku. Why would he know? Jiraiya asked, pointing to the clan head. Fugaku sneered at him. Fugaku was my guard last year. Sarutobi sighed. Next year I'm sending Guy with you. He will tell me what the tournament is. I am sorry, Hokage-sama, I cannot do something as unyouthful as tell you what the tournament is. As my punishment, I will run 1,000 laps around Konoha. Alright, you're dismissed, Naruto. Kakashi, I expect your report tomorrow. Fugaku. Thank you for informing me of your thoughts on the matter we discussed. Naruto tilted his head at the last bit. Curious, it is nothing of importance, child. Now you have training to do. Tobirama stated, waving him off. By GG. I'll talk with you later. Naruto left, and his first destination was Ichiriku's ramen. It was time to eat the food of the gods. He sat down and started eating the food. A few minutes later Shino appeared. Hey, Shino. Hello, Naruto. My hive informed me that you returned. I figured. I don't understand how you can understand them though. Shino shrugged. I have lived with them my entire life. Understanding them is second nature to me. I am sure that you will eventually be able to understand, as well as a born Abermane can. Naruto nodded. The two boys chatted, catching up since Naruto left for vacation. Eventually Naruto left and made his way to his house, passing by the academy. On his way, it was as he passed by where he heard something. Looking up, he spotted a girl being dragged by three older. As she was crying, he chose to follow them. He got there and saw them tormenting her. Hey, what do you jerks think you're doing? He asked them. They turned around and sneered. Oh, it's that kid. One of them muttered. Leave the girl alone. Or what? You can't do anything. Naruto jumped using his chakra and landed behind the three kids and in front of the girl. Feeling his connection to the hive, he requested them to come out. The three boys backed up, their eyes going wide. Naruto sent his bugs to drain them of their chakra until they passed out, and then he had his colony returned to him. Are you okay? He turned, smiling at her as he offered his hand. The girl gave a small nod. Why yes, she said quietly as Naruto helped her up. That's good, Hinata-sama. A man called out as he appeared, looking at the three bodies on the ground. He frowned. What happened? Hinata-sama. The girl looked down, poking her fingers together. Hyuga-san, I found these three surrounding Hinata-san here, and being mean to her I knocked them unconscious through use of my Bikaichu. The man looked at him, and then to Hinata, who gave small nod. I see, thank you for your help, Uzumaki-san. Naruto gave a small bow as Madara told him it was the appropriate thing to do. Naruto then left the two Hyuga, leaving as well. Returning to his apartment, he smiled. Despite the civilians being their usual selves, it was good to be back. Iwa was nice, and everyone there actually happy to see him. But there was something to be said for Konoha. It was his home, and he would protect it with his life. Seeing as night had now fallen, he went to sleep happy. The next day he woke up and got dressed, ate breakfast, and all that normal morning stuff. He spent an hour reading his sealing book before a knock came at his door. Opening it, he was surprised to see the same Hyuga as yesterday. What can I do for you, Hyuga-san? He asked politely, inviting the man in. Glad that his apartment was clean. Hayashi-sama has requested your audience, the Hyuga stated. Ask if it is a formal audience or not. Madara told him, is this a formal audience? Semi-formal, the Hyuga told him. When is my presence expected? Within the hour. If that is acceptable, it is. Let me change into something more fitting, and you can lead me if you wish. The man gave a small nod of his head and left. Naruto assumed he was waiting outside, grabbing his new Cody Choose jeans instead of pants, and the reddish orange shirt the Abermane had given with the coat. Raising an eyebrow at Madara and Hashirama, they gave their approval, and Naruto walked out. The Hyuga led him through the streets, and they went to the Hyuga clan grounds. Naruto was led forwards towards the most prominent building. Once inside, he was sat down at a living room. The Hyuga walked further, and 5 minutes passed before two figures come in. One is the Hyuga who had led him here, and the other was a man with long hair that was a darker shade of gray. This must be Hayashi, and judging from how deep the other Hyuga bowed before leaving, he suspected that the man was clan head Uzumaki-san. The man greeted Hayashi-sama. Naruto replied evenly. He was now thankful for every lesson Tobirama had drilled into him about politics and clans. Fugaku had been a bit more lax, but Naruto knew the Hyuga were going to be more political. The man sat across from him, and with a signal tea appeared and was served. Naruto waited until Hayashi took the first sip of tea before sipping his own. How are you doing, Uzumaki-san? I am doing well, Hyuga-sama. Yourself. I am fortunate that my clan is doing well off, the man replied. That is good, Naruto replied back, sipping at the tea again. How is he? Academia, the man asked. Naruto inwardly sighed at the polite talk. He would much rather they just cut to the chase of why he was summoned. It is okay, I heard that you have some of the lowest grades in your class. I tend to forget to turn the assignments in. I find that most of the information they teach is more orientated for those students who will become civilians. I see you would go straight to the ninja academy. If you could, I would. If that would not make me seem like a prodigy of sorts. I have no inclination to be brought up in such light. Interesting, Hayashi stated. He sipped his tea. I would like to know why you helped Hinata. And now they were getting to the matter at hand. I do not like bullies. I'm sure you can understand why when I saw them picking on her I decided to stop it. Hayashi frowned a bit. But you are allied with the Uchiha clan, the Abermane, as well. So what of it? Naruto questioned. My apologies. I assumed that as an ally of the Uchiha you would follow the clan rivalries. Clan rivalries? Naruto wondered in his mind. He filed it away to ask Tobirama later. It is fine, Hyuga-sama. I am not interested in carrying forth any clan rivalries. I only wish to be neutral, or have a positive relation with the clans. Very well, thank you then for helping my daughter. Naruto bowed his head. Thank you for coming, Uzumaki-san. The man said as he got up. It is no problem, Hyuga-sama. Thank you for the tea. It was an honor meeting you, Naruto replied. As he stood up, and with a formal bow he left. After exiting out of the Hyuga clan he sighed, his shoulders sagging. Now he could go read his book again. The next year passed rather peacefully. He had eventually forgiven Jiraiya, and the man was trying his best to make up for his mistakes, and Jiraiya never asked him about his slip-up, saying that Naruto could tell him when he wanted. The man wanted Naruto to live with him, but he didn't want to since it would make it harder to chat with his true family, the Shimmers. The man took to aiming him in the ceiling art. Seeing that Naruto was learning it, Jiraiya did learn that Naruto was getting training from the Anbu, and that he was a lot more advanced than a normal genin. Though he wasn't quite ready for the duties of a chunin, his skills may be at that level, but they didn't think he could handle the leadership duties of a chunin yet. Under Jiraiya's teaching his ceiling ability raised up quite a bit. On Saturdays Tobirama would always come over and have him work on the three-step while teaching Naruto politics. This was also helping Naruto learn how to make seals while focusing on something else. Some ninja couldn't focus on hand signs and what the opponent is saying at the same time. Eventually Tobirama told him of a more advanced chakra control. A shell of chakra was formed around a liquid. At first Naruto had to keep in contact like the ball, but eventually he mastered it, even being able to form multiple of them easily. When he mastered it, he decided it was time for a prank. He bought a ton of paint and made the chakra balls around the paint. Then he went to the top of the Hokage tower with the paints. Inu, who was his guard at the moment, helped him. The two threw all of the paint balls. The extreme force of contact bursting them as they decorated the nearby buildings, and Kakashi decorated the not so near, even managing to hit the Hokage monument. Eventually the two ran out of paint, and they fled the scene of the crime before everyone woke up to start the day. Other than pulling a few pranks, his training was going well. Madara and Hashirama continued teaching him taijutsu. Madara finally taught him the great fireball jutsu, and Hashirama taught him a wind jutsu, the air bullet jutsu. Hashirama also started him on learning to the sensory. Madara also decided to teach Naruto how to wield a gunbei, which with a request to the Hokage, they had one made since it wasn't a common weapon, and none of the shops sold it for some reason. The Hokage banged his head on the desk, muttering something under his breath that they couldn't make out. Tobirama just shook his head when Naruto made the request. As for his training with the commander, he had finished the mental process training. He was now able to see and process the Anbu speed conversations. His speed also improved without his weights, and with chakra he could move at Anbu speed without his weights, and without chakra it was low jounin. With his weights and with chakra he could move at high chunin speed. With his weights and without his chakra then he moved at low to average chunin speeds. Now that he was done with the mental process training, with the side effect being speed, then he could move on to the next training, which was learning how to deliver information and how to signal to other Anbu. As the year finished he completed his Anbu training in information delivery. Other than his training, there was his personal life. The academy was the same boring stuff as ever, but good thing was that it was the final year of the merged academy. Next year they would be in the Shinobi Academy. He and Shino always spent recess together, Hinata joining them after she worked up the nerve to ask. The trio became good friends. Naruto also finally told Shino about Kurama, and about his parents. He still wasn't quite ready to tell him about the Shimmers. He also noticed that the Hyuga changed regarding him, whereas before they ignored him, and some sneered at him. Now they were giving him polite nods, or greeting him. It was weird. But Madara told him it was because of his talk with Hayashi. Now that Naruto had shown that he was actually playing the political game, then Hayashi wanted to keep his options open regarding him, though the man made no further moves. As for his colony, They were slowly increasing in size, and actually during one of his spars with Shino, he and Kirima learned something they could do. They could have the bugs form into the shape of a small fox, and the Bikaichu could apply an illusion to make it look like a fox. That much was obvious and easy, but it was when they applied Kirima's chakra to them, when they held the shape, that things became surprising. I'm outside, Kirima questioned in shock, looking around. Shino turned towards them, and raised an eyebrow. This is interesting, Naruto stated. Indeed, to think that these bugs of yours can't hold my conscious, Kirima muttered, walking around. So this is Kirima, Shino stated. I am Shino, it is interesting to meet you. Yeah. Bow before me, meatbag. I am the greatest of the Bijou, the almighty Kyuubi, and I am sort of free, the miniature Bijou stated pompously. Naruto chuckled as he watched Kirima bound around the clearing. Say, brat, can we go cause some panic amongst the civilians, please? No, I don't need them to hate me any more than they already do. Boring. Oh, let's play with some bombs. I want to see them for myself, Kirima stated, leaping over to him. Sure, Naruto agreed, pulling out some of the low-yield explosives. The trio spent an hour like that playing with explosives and entertaining the Hyper Bijou. On note of Kirima, Naruto's one-tailed cloak was coming along well, though he still got angry relatively quick. So he worked on being able to control his emotions better so he didn't lose control. But soon the academy came to an end, and it was Naruto's favorite month of the year, December. Naruto was assigned Might Guy as his guard, and the duo set out. Unlike previous trips, Guy encouraged him to push himself as they ran to you. Naruto had informed Guy of what to suspect. Instead of leaving it as a surprise, the duo arrived with it. 4 days. Naruto was exhausted since Guy said that they should only stop running to sleep. The guards looked at him as he collapsed. That was tiring, he grumbled from the ground. The guards, seeing he was uninjured, snickered. His plight. If you don't get up soon, perhaps we should alert your fangirls that your Naruto was gone. Before the guard could finish the sentence, Naruto made his way to Inoki's office, grinning as people greeted him. Though fangirl horde did start and Naruto had to run once more, it was an exhausted boy that came into Inoki's office and collapsed on the chair. Brat, you look tired. His youthful energy has been put to the test on the most youthful run here, Guy shouted with a thumbs up what he said. The exhausted 9-year-old grumbled, you got another new guard, brat. Yeah, Gigi keeps trying to learn what the tournament is. Naruto looked at Guy and stated which would be most unyouthful to tell him what the tournament is. Guy frowned at that. Anyways, Naruto went to the hotel, checked in, and his brain checked out as he fell asleep. The next day he spent with Deidara, the two boys messing around with explosions. Deidara had learned how to create basic shapes with his explosions, and had figured out how to make his explosions multiple colors. Through the colors ran together. Naruto gave him a small hardened marble of chakra that was on a string. He had one himself hanging on his wrist for emergencies. Only Naruto told him with a grin. He knew that the bead was a bright angry red. From what Madara had told him, the bead was a untailed marble explosion. He wasn't allowed to sell them to Deidara, but giving him one as a gift, well, Gigi never said anything against it. The next day Naruto had another free day, which he spent actually exploring Iwa, Deidara, and Kuratsuchi being his tour guides. Udo knew a few streets, the ones he commonly used on his other vacations, but the rest of Iwa was a mystery. Finally it was time for the tournament, in which Naruto dominated. Inoki of course made his standard bet. If Naruto lost one hand he would have to forfeit. If not, then he won a jutsu, which when he did win was the raw clone technique. After signing they relaxed at the hot springs, and then Naruto went to sleep. The next day he spent with Deidara and Kuratsuchi. Sparring and training, he was able to beat Kuratsuchi in the Taijutsu, Lee spar, and put up a decent fight against Deidara, though the older boy still won. Experience mattered after all. Anyway, soon it was time to head back, and Naruto kept mentioning to Guy how unyouthful it would be to tell the Hokage, and that if Guy did tell the Hokage then he was more unyouthful than Kakashi, and that really seemed to do the trick. Naruto returned to Konoha, and they reported to the Hokage, as Jiraiya came to teach him more seals. Naruto smiled. Life was good. Naruto jumped up excited. Today was the first day of the Ninja Academy. Got dressed, putting on his clothes proudly, wearing the leaf sign on his back, and the Uzumaki spiral on his shoulder. His Bikaichu formed the small Kirima, who grumbled, calm down. Geez, you got me soaked with that damn water. Sorry Kirima, if I knew what caused the water I would fix it. Or if I could I would change your cage to something more comfortable. Yeah, I know you would, brat. The Bijou jumped up onto his shoulder, wrapping its tail around the back of Naruto's neck. Naruto wrinkled his nose as he felt the Bikaichu. He still had a bit of trouble getting used to the feel of the Bikaichu on any other body part other than his hand. The Cug clone may look like Kirima, but it certainly didn't feel like, for although the miniature Kyuubi had only one tail. Naruto rolled his eyes and walked towards the academy with a hop in his step. He really, as excited Kirima grumbled as they arrived, and the bugs returned to his gourd. The grumpy fox didn't want to sit around the classroom all day. Naruto sat next to Shino and Hinata, who luckily were in the same class as him. He noticed Sasuke was also in the class, Looking around he noticed an Inuzuka, a Nara, a Yamanaka, and an Akimichi. Giving a low whistle he muttered to his friends, "There are a lot of clan children in this class. They are not just clan children, but clan heirs with the exception of Kiba, Inuzuka, Shino and Forum. Damn, I guess they're going to make the Ino Shikacho group again, only if the kids show they can work together," Hinata stated softly. "Interesting. What other teams do you think would be formed?" "Well, either me, or you will be on a tracking team with Hinata and Inuzuka-san," Sino stated. "One team will be the highest scoring Shinobi, and Kunoichi with the dead last to balance the teams." "Maybe I shouldn't be dead last then," Naruto muttered. Shino raised an eyebrow at him. "I had planned to be dead last so people would underestimate me. I see. That is a good strategy amongst those in Konoha, but it is ineffectual because people outside will be more likely to recognize you." "Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll just have to see how things pan out. I don't know if they will even be able to keep my attention." Shino gave a nod. As it turned out, the academy could not hold his attention. The weeks passed, and they were practicing throwing kune, which Naruto had learned already. He was lazing around watching his fellow students when he saw one of the girls struggling. She had medium-length hair. He didn't recognize her, but he still went over. "Hey," he greeted the girl. Blinked at him. "Hi," she replied, back a bit timidly. "What's your name?" "Mine's Naruto." "Sakura." She replied back. "Nice to meet you. Want to practice together?" "Sure." For the rest of the time they spent on kune throwing, he helped her throw her kune. At the end of the day she dragged him over to her parents, much to the amusement of Shino and Hinata. That's when the newly blossoming friendship ended. Her parents were civilians who didn't want their precious flower being near the demon boy. They forbid her from hanging out with him. Naruto sighed as he turned back to his friends. Go figure. None of the civilian children would ever be friends with him because their parents told them he was a monster. Anyways, after that she avoided him, soon becoming a fangirl of Sasuke, and having a rivalry with Ino, who she used to be friends with anyways. As for the Nara heir, there was actually a rumor going on that the two were somehow related, not for their looks, but for the sheer laziness the two boys possessed. In fact, Naruto and the Nara had silently challenged each other to who could be the laziest. Needless to say, the academy became a very good time to sleep. One time when he left the academy, he went to go eat at Ichiriku's, and the Ino Shikacho juniors followed him. He and the Akimichi boy got into a ramen eating contest, which Naruto thoroughly won. No one could beat him at his favorite food. The Yamanaka girl sniffed in disgust as she watched them eat. "So why did y'all follow me? I want to play a match of shogi against you." Nara said. "I was just following Shikamaru. A girl can't get to know the second cutest guy in the class," the Yamanaka said with a grin. Naruto twitched. Memories of fangirls appearing in his mind. "Sasuke-kun is obviously the cuter one between the two of you, and he is much cooler and more mysterious. Plus he has such a tragic backstory," she said, her voice going dreamy. "Although Sasuke-kun seems to dislike you," she stated, turning to him, a questioning look on her face. Naruto shrugged. "We used to be friends, but he didn't like that I had Shino as my friends. He made me choose. I stuck with Shino cause we had been friends longer." The girl nodded. "Hey, what are y'all's names anyways?" "I know y'all's clan names, but not your first," Naruto asked after a moment of silence as he followed Shikamaru to go play shogi Imchaji. The Akimichi boy stated. "I know," the Yamanaka girl stated, flipping her hair. Shikamaru. Finally they arrived at the Nara clan grounds and Shikamaru led him to his room. The boy pulled out his shogi board, and the two boys played. Naruto, learning as he played as Madara, and Hashirama told him rules and suggested plays. Naruto switched between the two advices, from Madara's aggressive frontline attacks with the sneaky back pieces, and Hashirama's defensive plays with the careful taking of his opponent's play. Shikamaru frowned as the game continued. Still he won at the end. "What strategy were you using?" the boy asked. Naruto shrugged. "It was kinda mixed between two strategies. I switched between them as I felt was needed." The boy nodded. "We should play again." "Sure." It was fun. A couple months later he was going to meet with Shino. His life had gotten fairly busy, with learning seals from Jiraiya, and now even Tobirama, though Tobirama was mostly the principles and theories behind sealing, while Naruto was still practicing the infernal three-step. He had it down. Sure, he could do it perfectly without messing up, but Tobirama wanted him to be even faster at it. Madara and Hashirama continued training him in Taijutsu, sensory, and the way of the Gunbei, his Anbu training. Now that his information training was done, the commander was teaching him the general stuff. Sarutobi didn't approve, but he could see how beneficial it was for Naruto. After all, the Anbu treated him like a normal person, which the other Anbu had learned who he was, though they weren't aware of his ability. And when Danzo learned that Naruto was receiving Anbu training, the man backed off of Sarutobi a bit, and his training with Kurama's physical transformation was going well. He could get the fur to sprout everywhere, and half of his bones changed form to that of the fox structure. Usually it was his arms and legs, sometimes it Was head and arms. Once he had sprouted a tail. Naruto really enjoyed being the spy master. He learned lots of stuff he wouldn't otherwise be privy to, and he was helping Konoha. He met with his Gigi, at least, once a month to report what his network had found out. Unless it was an emergency. Shaking his head, he continued on his way to the training field Shino had told him to meet at. They were once more going to be bug hunting, and then training a bit. As he got closer to the training field, he heard the sound of fighting. Frowning, he picked up his speed a bit. Hearing Shino cry out in pain, he ran forward. He saw Shino on the ground, his hand clutching his arm to stop the bleeding. Naruto growled as the attacker stepped forward to finish the job. Rushing over to his friend, he pulled out a kunai and stopped the man. Emotions welled up: panic, anger, and the need to protect Shino. He crouched as he pulled upon the one-tailed cloak. His eyes burned as if they were on fire. The attacker cursed and turned to run. Naruto started to chase after him. Rip, tear, shred, kill. But he saw his guard go after the man. Naruto heard Shino whimper in pain. Managing to remain in control, he deactivated the cloak. He went to his friend's side. Shino's Kakashi were crawling on the wound now, which meant that they were trying to pull out poison. But soon they started wobbling in their flight before he saw Shino's bugs attacking Shino. His eyes wide, he sent his Pikachu to protect Shino. Frowning, he held his hands out and sent his chakra at Shino's Kakachu. The bugs sensed his chakra and turned to him. The poison must have been designed to affect the Kakachu, Hashirama stated, looking around. Naruto, pull your chakra away from your eyes, Madara stated. Naruto did as a Kakachu flew towards him. Naruto winced as the bugs started attacking him. Though Kurama was healing him as much as they were biting him, it hurt. But at least they weren't further damaging Shino, as his guard was no chasing after the attacker. Naruto asked Kurama to go find a medic or Bermain to come and help his Pikachu form the clone, and Kurama ran off. A few minutes later, and the fox returned riding on top of the shoulder of an Aburame. The person's eyes widened at seeing Naruto being attacked by Shino's bug. Shino was attacked by someone. He is being chased, but I think his blade was poisoned. When Shino's bugs come into contact with it, they started attacking him. I called the Kakachu to me because of my healing factor. The Aburame nodded. I see. Unfortunately, we can't easily neutralize the poison here. I will take Shino to hospital and you go to the main house. We have several antidotes we can't try. Naruto winced again and nodded. The fox bug clone dissipated and his clones went to his gourd. As the duo separated, he made his way to the clan grounds, avoiding the heavily populated area and taking the roofs to quickly reach his destination. The Aburame clan saw him and quickly let him in. Naruto reported what had happened, twitching occasionally. Shibi was quick to arrive and winced at what he saw. Follow the man stated, turning and briskly walking towards a building. Naruto was led and told to sit in a room. Okay, we're going to disperse a few antidotes into the air. Hopefully one of these will do the trick to calm Shino's Kakachu down. They closed the room, and soon Naruto heard a hissing. A few minutes later, nothing seemed to happen. And then he heard the whirling. That process repeated 3 more times before Shino's Kakachu stopped attacking Naruto's side. In relief, the whirling happened once more. And then the door opened. Shibi came in and came over to him. Naruto-san, are you in relatively good condition? I'm fine. I'm already healed. It is good that you were there to help Shino, as he does not have your healing factor. The damage would be much worse. I have already received word from the hospital. Shino will be fine in a few hours. Naruto sighed in relief. That's good to hear. And his colony? Naruto asked, looking at the Kakachu who seemed to be flying around aimlessly. I shall collect them and check to make sure they are fine, Shibi said, raising his hands, and the bugs flew into a gourd the man brought him. Please take care, Naruto-san, Shibi stated with a nod as he left. Naruto stood there for a moment, shocked at just what had occurred. Frowning, he made his way to the Hokage's office. Once in the room, he asked, was Shino's attacker caught yet? Not yet. He is still being pursued, the Hokage said, dismissing his Anbu guards. Naruto turned to Tobirama. I don't want him to get away. I would like to request that some Shimmers also go after him in case he manages to give the slip. That is a good call. Very well, Tobirama agreed with a nod. Naruto, did anything else happen? Did the attacker say anything? And tell him you unlocked your Sharingan. I unlocked my. Wait, what? Naruto started to repeat before he realized just what Madara had said. He whirled to the Shimmer, his eyes wide. Yes, I noticed you unlocked them when you saw Shino being attacked. That is why I will you to pull your chakra away from your eyes. Naruto-kun, Saratobi questioned. How could I have unlocked them though? Naruto asked, ignoring the third for a moment. You remember how you got your eyes correct? Naruto nodded. Orochimaru used a jutsu called the Edo Tensei to summon me. He merged your eyes with my Edo Tensei eyes. I am surprised you managed to activate them. Naruto went pale. You mean? Madara bent down to him. Your eyes are also partially made with my eyes. But that is fine. It is not your fault for what he did. Madara spoke gently. Naruto-kun, what if you unlocked the third? Question once more the Sharingan, Naruto said, sitting down in the chair. The third's eyes went wide. How are you able to have the Sharingan? Naruto bit his lip. He had promised that he wouldn't mention Orochimaru to anybody, but it had been a couple years. Finally the young 9-year-old caved. A Saratobi. He watched as Naruto bit his lip, hesitant to tell him how he, when I was 5, I had played one of my pranks. I was running away from the villagers and a chunin and decided to hide in the Hokage monument. Since there are relative rooms the boy started, I ran into one of the rooms thinking I had lost them. I looked around and spotted someone else in the room. Back then I could see colors. I don't remember much about his looks, other than he was pale with black hair and yellow slitted snake-like eyes. Hiruzen's eyes widened. Surely Naruto couldn't mean Orochimaru. Unfortunately for me, the chunin was a sensor and had located me. I heard them come closer. I then looked for a place to hide, but the man grabbed me and used a jutsu to make us travel through the ground. Eventually, we resurfaced back up. I did not know where we were at back then, so I followed him. Since he saved me, I remember us chatting, but I don't remember what. Eventually he pointed me to the market district, and we went our separate ways. He raised an eyebrow, wondering what his old student had been doing, that he didn't try to take further advantage of Naruto, especially since it seemed they were all alone. I walked through the district. It was late at night. I remember being shoved into a wall, and a knife being held. I had been scared, so scared. The man was talking crazy, kept speaking about eyes. He held a knife to my eye. I remember trying to break free, but that had drove the knife into my eye. I froze then, in pain, in fear. I don't remember. I tried calling for help, but nobody came. The man stabbed my other eye. He was about to kill me. He stared in horror at what he was hearing. Suddenly the next thing I remember was that snake guy talking. He told me he could give me my sight back. I agreed. He picked me up and took me somewhere. He gave me a shot which knocked me out. I don't know what he did. Naruto paused and tilted his head a bit. Madara says he has a bit more information. Naruto changed his posture to stand like Madara. I felt a tugging, and when I arrived I saw that this yellow slitted-eye guy was summoning me via Edo Tensei. As a reincarnation, I do not remember anything from my time in the spirit world. He tried taking my eye out only for it to fall apart into dust. He seemed amused by this as he watched my eye reformed. He then turned to Naruto, who was on a table unconscious. I could see that his eyes were wounded. He took one of Naruto's eyes, and after taking out my eye again he placed Naruto's eye into my empty eye socket. Of course my eye still tried to reform, and it did, using the material of Naruto's eye. In the process he took the eye out and I waited for it to fall apart. The eye did not, and he placed it inside of Naruto's socket. He then repeated this process with Naruto's other eye. I choose to follow as the snake man, who we later learned was named Orochimaru, took Naruto to his apartment. He looked on, horrified by what he was hearing. His student had experimented on Naruto. That's pretty much the story. GG. Naruto told him, relaxing his posture. A month after that I started seeing a sort of shimmer in the air, and then they developed into people. You know that and the rest. Why didn't you tell me about this? Orochimaru told me not to tell anybody about him being here. Naruto stated, looking away. I see, he stated, shocked. What had his student been doing in the Hokage's monument? There wasn't much important up there except Edo Tensei, the first 2 Hokage's bodies. Fuck Naruto. And Naruto was dismissed, but he could hear the Hokage barking out orders. And as he walked out tower he saw the man left towards the Hokage monument with 4 Enbu behind him. I wonder what that's about. Naruto mused as he watched Madara, and Hashirama shrugged. I think I should go practice my chakra cloak some more. I was able to be in control earlier today, but I felt like I was about to lose control. The 2 Shimmers nodded, and Naruto, after finding a secluded area, changed into his Anbu clothes. Then he headed to the building and asked around for Tenzo. Luckily the man was around. Hey Tenzo, Teichou. I wanted to work on my cloak some more, but I was wondering if we could get someone else to use jinjutsus on me. That way I can be as if I am actually in a battle, instead of a controlled situation. Tenzo nodded. That is a good idea, Namini. Give me a moment to find someone who can use jinjutsus. I am not the best at them. He left and soon came back with Hummingbird. Naruto was led to the empty room that was always used for his training. Hummingbird made a string of hand signs. Naruto activated his one-tailed cloak. Soon the room warped. He was on the streets of Konoha. Soon though a running figure caught his attention. Taking off after him he realized he was in his Anbu clothes. The runner, who he knew was fleeing from them, jumped down, attacked Hinata. Naruto growled, rage flashing through him as he leapt down at the attacker, claws outstretched. His anger burned at him, threatening to overwhelm him as the attacker threw Kune, aiming for Hinata. He wanted to charge the guy, attack him, rip him to shreds, and he was only barely able to refrain, as he knew if he did that he would leave Hinata unprotected. Soon the jinjutsu ended, leaving him sweating and panting, his cloak fading away. He clenched his fist before taking a deep breath and releasing it. Calming down he looked at them again. Please, they nodded. The rest of the day was spent under jinjutsus, learning how to control himself even amidst a battle. This resulted in a noticeable leap in his skill controlling his emotions while under the influence of the chakra cloak. After that day was over, Naruto's life hit the fast lane. The rest of the year passed, training hard to get better. Tobirama continued his normal teaching of politics, and the theory behind sealing. All the while Naruto was doing the three-step, inwardly cursing Tobirama as the man made him practice, and practice, and practice some more. Madara taught him how to utilize the Sharingan, though Naruto was reluctant to use it. He wanted to get strong on his own strength, not by stealing others' work. Madara praised him when Naruto told him that. He said that Naruto's work motivation was good, and that if he worked hard then he would become stronger than someone who only copies a jutsu. Besides, for the Sharingan training, it was also working on the Gunbei, and the next stage of Madara's taijutsu style, which utilized the visual prowess of the Sharingan. Hashirama taught him how to defend himself, and the two worked on figuring out his abilities for interacting with spirits, since the Shimmers were able to grab him, and use their jutsus through him. Though Naruto did notice it used up his chakra as well, but it only used his physical half, the Shimmer providing the spiritual half, though it took up a lot of the Shimmer's spiritual chakra to do so, which led Hashirama to training himself, trying to develop his spiritual chakra as well as his chakra control. His Anbu training was going well, as he learned the basics of everything an Anbu needed to know. He fully mastered his one-tail cloak by the time December came around, and so long as he wasn't battling, and was in a calm environment, he could control the two-tail cloak. But after the busy year, he was ready for his vacation to Iwa. His guard this year was actually Jiji's son Asuma. The two walked out the gates. "Man, Jiji really is trying to learn what the tournament is," Naruto commented with a grin. The old man muttered something about family loyalty getting the answer. Asuma informed him with a sideways glance. "Will you inform him? I've gotten Fugaku, Kakashi and Guy to keep it secret. It must not be harmful then if they are willing to keep it secret," the man stated, puffing out some smoke. "Nope. It's just Iwa's tournament." Asuma blinked. "Oh, you mean their Janken tournament? I thought the old man knew about that." Naruto cackled. "Nope, he doesn't." Asuma smirked at him. "Who am I to enlighten him to this fact then?" "Yes, haha, Jiji is going to suffer another year without knowing. That's it. I'm sending Ibiki with you," the third said, pouting after Asuma informed him that he would not tell him. "It's not often when I can get to one-up the old man," Asuma stated. He paused before he suddenly turned to stare at Naruto. His eyes went wide and he pointed. Your solid hand. The one who overthrew Inoki." Asuma shouted, shocked. "Yep." Asuma pulled out a poster. It had the back of Naruto on it with the leaf symbol. In the background it had Fugaku's shocked expression, his Sharingan clear in his eyes. It also had Inoki bowing down on the ground. "Please, you have to sign my poster, man. I wish I had been able to see the tournament. I heard about and a friend handed me this poster. I heard it was legendary. I have to know how you do it." Asuma started speaking rapidly, thrusting the poster over to Naruto. "It was one of the only reasons I accepted this mission, because we were heading to UI. Figured I could see the tournament, but to know I'm actually Guardian Solid Hand. Man, no, if only I knew who the underground shogi tournament leader was." Naruto signed the poster easily. Having to sign a great many posters and other memorabilia led him to quickly developing his signature. "Underground shogi tournament?" Naruto questioned. He had gotten used to the game, and Shikamaru said he was pretty good compared to most of the people he faced against. "Yeah, Konoha doesn't have an official tournament like the other four. But we have the underground shogi tournament. Most aren't even aware of it. I probably shouldn't have mentioned it. I play a bit of shogi. I would be interested to learn more about it." "Really? You any good?" "I don't know, I only ever play against the Shikamaru Nara, so I always lose. He says I'm pretty good though." "A Nara? Yeah, they are insanely good at the game. In fact, the tournament is run by them." Asuma agreed as they jumped through the trees. "If a Nara says you're good, you might have a chance making it past the first round. Tell you what, if you can beat me in a round of shogi, I will front you for the underground tournament." "Sounds like a deal." The two continued their journey to Iwa, bounding over their love of games and wind affinity. They were halfway through their journey when Naruto froze. A feeling of slime felt like it was crawling over him. "There's a filth in the area," Hashirama stated as he and Madara stood in a defensive position around Naruto. "What's wrong?" Asuma asked, having to back up to the boy who had frozen. Before Naruto could respond, the feeling grew, and coming out of the other side of the forest was this black thing. It had a faint resemblance to a human, in that it was bipedal, and had two arms, but its body seemed to be bubbling and shifting. The thing looked completely black even to Naruto. The boy shifted into a defensive taijutsu stance even as Madara jumped down and attacked the thing. He watched as the two fought. The creature always moved as if in slow motion, but somehow it was always fast enough to dodge out of the way of the strikes. Hashirama formed hand signs and would came up and wrapped around the creature, trapping it. Madara formed his own hand sign and burnt the filth to a crisp. The battle was quick, only lasting about half a minute. But as two Shimmers looked exhausted, Naruto, Asuma snapped out, waving his hand in front of him. He jumped back, blinking. What happened? He shook his head. Nothing. Asuma frowned. Luckily though he didn't question any further. The duo continued on the road. Finally Naruto arrived at Iwa, his headband firmly in place around his neck. The guards waved him by once to saw him. Naruto made his way through the streets, people smiling at seeing him. He knew that soon the fangirls would be upon him. Hurrying up a bit, he managed to make it to the Tsuchikage building before the fangirls could swarm him. Barging into the old man's room, he smiled, before pausing, the words dying in his face as the heavy atmosphere crashed down upon him. Deidara and Inoki were glaring at each other. They turned to face him before Deidara beamed brightly. Naruto-kun, finally someone who understands true art. Naruto just grinned at the boy. Bah, at least the brat isn't obsessed with explosions as you are. So brat, you ready to lose? How you wish, Oji-san, Naruto told him, grinning. Asuma watched. So who's your guard this year? He's not going to be like last year's, is he? Nah, Asuma is cool. Actually I'm hot, Asuma stated, blowing out a puff of smoke somewhere in Konoha. Kurini's eyes started twitching. Do you like art? Deidara asked, looking up at the man. The 13-year-old boy grinned. What kind of art are you talking about? Naruto and Deidara shared a glance. The only kind of art worth viewing, the beauty of which is only available for a brief second, but its memory lasts on forever in the person who sees it. Art is an explosion. Noon, Databeo. The two boys chorused. Inoki Fasapom, get out of my office, brats. You know where your hotel is? At the two boys grinned and jumped out the window. First they went to go have Naruto check into his apartment, and then they went to the explosive training field. Hey, guess what, Deidara? What, you know that marble from last year? Yeah, that is my T1 strength. I have developed a T2 which is stronger. I have some pre-made. Gigi said that I could test them here since any damage I caused wouldn't give him more paperwork to do. Deidara cackled. Let's see it. Naruto placed the marble down, and the two went far away. Asuma followed them, confused. Why are we going so far? That explosion is made from my chakra mutation. Naruto deadpanned. Asuma's eyes went wide. T2, oh that, he paled. Yeah. Let's see, this was a safe distance last time, and we still had plenty room left. Naruto slammed his hand on the ground and raised them up into the air. Let's watch this beauty, Deidara said, bouncing on the balls of his feet. Katsu, Naruto shouted, making the cross seal. A few seconds passed, which was normal for these explosions. Boom. The earth shook. They could feel the heat brush against their faces. The three blinked the spots away from their eyes. The crater was twice as big as the first crater. They watched as the sides of the crater melted down to the bottom, slowly cooling. Brat, Inoki shouted as he raised another pillar to go next to theirs. Yes, the two boys asked. What the hell was that? We saw it all the way from Iwa. That was my newest bomb. Last year is called T1. This year I managed to double it to the T2. Inoki grumbled. You could have warned me. Oh, does Oji-san want to see the explosions? He teased the man. Inoki leveled a glare at him. He didn't say anything though. Naruto beamed. Having gotten his answer, the man soon left. Rest of the day was spent as normal, messing around with explosions and sparring. Deidara though said that he was almost done with something, and that he would show Naruto after the tournament. With that the two boys parted, and as they got back into Iwa, Naruto was forced to run from fangirls to his hotel room. The next morning he got dressed in his formal clothes and fixed his hair to look more tame than it usually did, still spiky, but now it was more reminiscent of Madara's luscious hair. Naruto paused as he realized what he thought. Damn, Dara-chan infecting me with his stupid hair fanaticism. Heading out, he made his way to the tournament, Asuma following behind him, a giddy look on his face. Geez, you're excited for this, Naruto stated flatly. He loved the tournament, but Asuma looked like a kid set free in a candy shop with as much money to spend as they could need. When they arrived, and Asuma was asked if he wanted to participate, the man looked like a squirrel on crack. Inoki came over, and they made their usual bet. The tournament progressed as usual. Asuma made it to the top 15 before he was drawn up against Inoki, and lost, having to suffer the punishment. The terrible, unspeakable, horrible punishment that should never be repeated. Anyways, the final 10 came up, with only a few changes in the people. Nobody important though. Naruto and Inoki faced off finally, though this year Naruto was challenging him from second place since his name had come up as 9 original and Inoki's as 4. They of course saved their fight as a last show, as it had been every year. Naruto won despite Inoki doing everything in his power to distract him and get him to loss. After they spent time signing posters and such, then they went to dinner and finally the hot springs. The next day Naruto and Deidara were given a scroll each. I gave you two the same scroll. L. You two are the only ones who utilize clay to the extent you do. For you, Naruto, it's my payment from the tournament. Deidara, that there is an early Christmas present. Inoki explained as Naruto sent him a questioning look. The two boys beamed and started working together to learn the jutsu, the Nendo Bunshin, a clone made out of clay. The two boys worked hard and each time either made a bit of progress they shared it with each other, quickly learning the clay clone within the day. Hey Naruto, can you meet me at the explosion testing field around midnight? Sure. Why, though I have something I want to show you, and it is better at night, Deidara said with a grin. Okay. Naruto took a nap, and his shimmer woke up, and he went, go meet Deidara, Asuma following with a yawn. They arrived at the training field to see Deidara already waiting for them. Finally, now let me show you how far my art has progressed, Deidara said, bouncing around. First Naruto-kun, you lift us into the air. Naruto nodded, and doing the jutsu the three were on a pillar about 50 feet high. Now just watch the show, Deidara shouted as he threw out a few small circular beads. They were quickly exploded, each one a different shade of gray, and a different shape. They were 6 shapes, but it was still impressive. Then Deidara threw one of his clay sculptures, a bird. The two Konoha citizens watched as Deidara did a hand sign, the bird getting bigger and flying around a bit. Then the older boy crossed his fingers. Katsu, he whispered out with a maniacal grin. The bird exploded. It was all kinds of shades of gray, and it retained the shape of the bird even as it expanded outwards. Slowly it dissipated. Wow, that was brilliant. Naruto enthused. So much potential, Madara said, grinning. Yeah, oh man, that was awesome. Such destructive awesomeness, Kurama said, forming himself. Asuma and Deidara paused as they looked at the fox bug clone. Asuma twitched. Who are you? Deidara asked. Kurama, pleased to meet you, the fox clone said, offering a paw to shake. Deidara shook it, then shuddered. Kurama here is a fox bug clone, as I called it, Naruto explained upon seeing Deidara's questioning look. Deidara nodded. Ah, so this is your bijou then? The Kyuubi? Naruto's eyes widened, and he took a step back. His breathing started escalating. He didn't want Deidara to hate him like Konoha did. Deidara noticed. Hey, calm down, it's okay Naruto-kun, he said gently as he slowly approached and hugged Naruto. The boy calmed down as Deidara hugged him. You know, yeah, when you made the T1 last year, we knew for sure. Before that Inoki had his suspicions, but we didn't care. After all, you're one of our honorary shinobi. Naruto was speechless as he just tightened his hug on the older boy. Bah, enough of the touchy-feely stuff. I want to see some more explosions before we have to return to the Leaf Village. Naruto, can we please make a 3-tail? Please. The mightiest of the bijou asked, bouncing around. Sure. Asuma twitched. Kurama dissipated the bugs, returning to his gourd as Naruto pulled out a marble. Unlike before, they allowed the cloak to form around them for a moment before channeling the chakra into the little clay ball. How so impressive. My best friend has one of the most destructive forces known to man. No wonder you could use it to make awesome explosions, Deidara said, beaming at him. Before you release it, you might want to inform that Sachika. Asuma warned them as they went to place the destructive marble. Deidara smirked and made a clay clone who dashed back towards the village. They had to wait about 20 minutes before Inoki came. Ga, you damn brats, what the hell do you think you're doing up so late? The man grumbled as he made an earth pillar to join them. They had already set the marble, and had gotten far away. T3 Deidara and Naruto stated with happy pyromaniacal grins on their faces. Inoki twitched. You two and your explosions. I doubt you two would have thought to alert me, though. He turned and raised an eyebrow at Asuma, who gave a nod in response. All right brats, let's get this over with so I can back to sleep. Naruto grinned as he made the cross seal. Katsu. The resulting explosion was huge, twice as large as the T2, meaning it was 4 times as large as T1. It resulted in a 20 feet deep crater that was 40 feet wide, completely gone. The sides melting. The fire from the blast reached 480 feet. Such beauty. Deidara, Naruto, Madara, and Kurama all murmured in sync. Soon the two boys went back to sleep. The next day it was time for Naruto to leave Iwa once more. He went to the gate where he saw Deidara waiting for him, holding something in his hands. Naruto, I couldn't really sleep after that show last night, and I thought to make you something. He held up a small clay bird. This is the same thing as last night. If you throw it while pulsing your chakra into it, and thinking of a target, it will follow after that person as well as expand it to its larger form. When it gets close enough you can explode it. This should be really useful if you encounter someone who can't fly, Deidara stated. He looked like he had more stuff to say. Inoki rolled his eyes. Deidara, would you like to patrol the borders? You can walk with Naruto until you get to the border. Sure. Deidara agreed, bouncing on his feet. The boys walked out, Asuma just watching, amused. Anyway, speaking of someone flying, I wish I had these earlier this year. So I was on a mission when an enemy missing ninja with control over the air took to the air to dodge my explosions and the attack of my team. It was only because of the T1 you gave me that me and my team are still alive. When the man dived down to make one of his attacks, I managed to hook the bracelet on him without him noticing. He flew way up in the air again, like a mile up, way out of reach of any of us, but not out of the reach of me activating the bead. The explosion was huge. Anyway, I wanted to thank you for giving me that gift. Naruto smiled. No problem. Taking off his bracelet, he handed it over to the boy. Here, just in case. I'll make myself another one when I get back to Konoha. Thank you, Naruto-kun. Naruto beamed. It's no problem, say Art. Going to work on making your explosions into shapes or colors. Not really, explosions are your forte, Deidara. I'm happy with just my T-bombs. Eventually I'll get to T9. And me and Kurama were talking about the version 2 cloak. I'm nowhere close to trying to make cloak, but we suspect that if I can make a version 2 cloak, then I should also be able to make it into the bombs. I've already thought to call the V-series cool. Have you thought about specializing in anything? And not really, I kinda just know a lot about all kinds of stuff. He was kinda specialized in information though, since his ability gave him an edge over everyone else. The trio continued walking until they hit Iwa's border. By the end of second day they parted ways as Deidara begun his border patrol. Naruto took off his Iwa honorary shinobi headband and sealed it away. Then the duo continued back to Konoha. Soon they were standing in front of the Hokage. Mission successful, Asuma stated, puffing a bit of smoke from the cigarette he always seemed to have in his mouth. Good. Anything of interest besides wondering why Naruto hasn't chosen to abandon Konoha and live in Iwa other than the fact that Iwa knows about the Kyuubi? Nothing much. Why would I want to live in Iwa? Konoha is my home, Naruto said instantly. Sarutobi pinched his nose. I figured Iwa knew about the Kyuubi. How could they not, with Naruto making house bombs of his? Then he looked at Naruto. I have to admit I do also wonder why you see Konoha as your home. It just is. I plan to prove to the citizens that they can trust me, that I will protect them. The third gave a slow nod. So Asuma, will you tell me what the tournament is? Man, when I learned you didn't know what it was, old man, I was surprised. I had known for years now myself. Sarutobi looked hopeful, but since you don't know I won't tell you, that's it. I'm sending Ibiki with you, the third said, pouting after Asuma informed him that he would not tell him. Asuma just shook his head in amusement. Good luck on your tournament next year. You're going to need it to deal with Ibiki. Naruto gave a confused look. Alright, well, you're dismissed. Naruto left. He returned to the house he now lived in with Jiraiya. On his birthday he had finally told the man about seeing Shimmers, and he told Hinata about his parents, and the Kyuubi. Like she chose to stay. As for Jiraiya, when he learned that it was Naruto who upstaged him as spy master, well, he laughed. He continued laughing until he abruptly stopped and said he needed a drink. The pervert had disappeared for the next 3 days, reappearing on Naruto's couch completely smashed. Anyways, the two now lived together in a small house. Soon it was the beginning of the second year of the Ninja Academy. It was the same class as last year, only it taught different material. He still slept through most of it, his grades once more earning him the title of the dead last, though he didn't really care about that. It just meant people would underestimate him. Well, unless they were from outside of Konoha, they might recognize him. Anyways, he was still training in his free time. He was now actually registered as an on-duty Anbu, though he didn't have to do any of the missions since he was technically undercover. He even had the Anbu tattoo, though he still was training with them, learning how to wield his three-tail state, and he carried quite a few pouches on his waist filled with a bunch of pre-made tiny marbles, and most of them, though the front one, and easiest to reach, was just filled with a giant lump of clay. Though Naruto could only make 3 T3 bombs a day since Kurama had to replenish its chakra, he also sold the marbles to the Anbu for them to use. The T1 was sold in packs of 10 for 1 million Ryo. The T2 was sold in packs of 5 for 1 million. The T3 was not for sale at the moment, but Naruto gave them to the Hokage, who would give them out to the Anbu he felt would need that much explosion. Naruto also, after experimenting with the different amount of clay and different amount Kurama's chakra, developed some suicide bombs with just enough yield to completely vaporize your body and possibly burn your captors to a crisp if they were close enough. He gave them to the Hokage, as he had originally just been experimenting around to see if there was any useful yields besides for his low yield and high yield, which was when he used the lowest amount of chakra into either a pound of clay or a marble size of clay. His clay pouch held clay made with a low explosive yield, which meant that his standard marble of clay was about the explosion of an explosion tag. Other than Anbu and Kurama, he was still learning that infernal 3-step from Tobirama, including now lessons on Konoha's laws, when the man wasn't teaching him the theory behind sealing, while Jiraiya handled the physical aspect of Jiraiya. I was great at shoving something at Naruto and telling him what to do, but not why he should do it that way, or what would happen if he were to interchange one aspect for another. That's what Tobirama was good at explaining. Naruto had seals on all of his pouches, so while they seemed small on the outside, the inside was quite different, as they could hold a lot. He also had a water canteen that could hold a lot of water, and the water was kept at a cold temperature, as if chilled by ice. He had created only one new and original seal. It was a modification of the storage seal and the food preservation seal. The food preservation seal could usually keep food fresh for a few days longer before it burned out. What Naruto wanted was for the food to be kept fresh and ready to eat, even years after the food was placed in it. So he started experimenting. At first nothing came to fruition, But eventually he managed to create a seal that should keep food fresh indefinitely. It had already kept a bowl of ramen fresh, and hot for a month, as pristine as when he had put it in the seal's 6th month. After he designed the seal he pulled out his bowl of ramen. It was still perfect. Grinning, he called the seal a success. The seal used storage as its basics, but it had a time-stopping mechanism, which meant that whatever entered the seal came into a permanent stasis. The only problem was the limit of the seal for an item such as popcorn. Naruto could pour in more, and more, and just pull out handfuls at a time, but for something like ramen, where had to put it into a container before he stored it in there. The storage scroll only held one for some reason, and he needed to have the container, or else how was he supposed to bring the ramen out to eat? It wasn't like he could just pour the ramen in there, and then stick his chopstick in there to pull out the noodles, and other goodies. He paused, or could he pulling the bowl of ramen? He opened the seal, and slowly poured the ramen in. Grabbing his chopsticks, he stuck them partially in the seal, then lifting them up he grinned at his success. Yata! Pulling out a scroll he started drawing seals. On top of them he wrote things such as miso ramen, pork ramen, beef ramen, and all the other kinds of ramen. Then he made it so the scroll could be unrolled and re-rolled easily. For the final decoration he crafted a scroll, a sleeve with the words Naruto's ramen supply on it. Putting the finishing touches on it he made his way to Ichiriku's ramen, intent on buying up all the ramen they could make. Luckily, since the Anbu liked having his higher tier explosives, he had quite a stash of money. Hey Tucci, oh, I'm wiping you clean today. Make all the ramen you can. The ramen maker's eyes widened. How much will it cost? Naruto asked. I don't understand. Why are you buying all the ramen we can make? Surely you don't plan on eating it all. I'm stocking for the future, he said, excited. Pulling out his scroll, I finished the testing of a new seal that will allow me to preserve food indefinitely, or at least 6 months. I called it good. After that I figured I'd stick up on your ramen as much as I could, for whenever I'm away from Konoha, or if I can't come here to get my normal ramen for whatever reason, like lunch at the academy. I see, Tucci stated, and he and Aim got to work for the rest of the day. Naruto sat there sealing away the different flavors of ramen the two chefs made until their supplies ran out. The total for all the ramen was around 500,000 ryo. He paid them 1 million. It was his due to the ramen stall. He had faint memories when he was 4 or 5, and they found him cold and hungry, and fed him without asking him to pay, and they offered him free bowls all the time. Even now when he could pay for the food he would a couple months later, and do the process. And, wanting to fill up his scrolls even more, he also spent a week straight constantly making as much popcorn as he could to fill up his popcorn scroll. Chaji found out about the seal, and since the two boys were friendly acquaintances, Naruto drew the friendly boy a seal which he could store his favorite chips in, though he would have to mix them together. Though Naruto said he would be willing to draw him a scroll similar to his ramen scroll if Chaji was willing to pay 400,000 ryo for it. It was 4 times more expensive than a normal storage scroll, and twice as expensive as a standard preservation seal. But honestly, when Chaji heard the price he said he expected Naruto to ask more for it, which led to the Akimichi clan inviting him over for a casual meeting. So here he was sitting at the dinner table eating a meal with the Akimichi clan, and unexpectedly the Nara clan and Yamanaka clan had families. So Naruto-san, I'm sure you figured we invited you here to talk about making a deal with you to get some more of those food scrolls. Naruto nodded. We have our own proposition for you. After having heard some rumors of the things you are doing, you're making quite a way in the clans, and the higher-ranking ninja, yet, the civilians and lower-ranking ninja you remain quite unknown except for your burden, the Nara clan had stated. I am just interested in meeting you. When Choza here said he was having inviting you over, I asked if I could come. The Yamanaka clan had explained. Ah well, since Imichi-sama here is the host, I assume he will be directing what happens first. Please feel free to call me Choza, the Akimichi clan had stated with a grin. Very well then, Choza-san, Naruto told him with a small tilt of his head in acknowledgement. The two then worked out an agreement. Naruto would get a list of Akimichi who wanted the scroll, and what food they wanted to store. For each seal Naruto had to draw it would cost 100,000. The scroll itself was 100,000, so if they just ordered one scroll with one seal, it as 200,000 Choji's scroll, which he had listed 10 kinds of chips, would have actually been 1,100,000. But Naruto said that Choji's would still only cost 400,000 since it had been agreed upon before the deal. They told him they would pay him as he completed the scrolls, and that he had no deadline. He wouldn't get the list though for a week or two, so that the clan had a chance to put their order on the list if they were interested. Next was the Nara's proposition, which was to design a seal that, activated, created a flare that would stay in place of wherever the scroll was when activated for 1 minute period. If Naruto was able to do it, they would pay him 10,000 ryo for each seal. The Nara clan head, who introduced himself as Shikaku, stated that if Naruto was able to make the seal into a small marble-like his explosives. Then that would be cool since them having a bit more weight made it easier to predict where it would go when thrown. Unlike paper, Naruto told the Nara clan head that he would work on that after that the meeting was over, since the Yamanaka clan head had just been there to observe mostly. So he was doing plenty of seal work, and getting paid a good bit of money for it, since he really had no use for the money now that he was living with Jiraiya. He just stored it. It took him a month, but he designed the seal the Nars asked, and he was able to paint it onto hardened clay marbles. As for his father Seal's book, it was no longer giving him a headache trying to make head or tails of the words written inside of it. He still couldn't make out much of the seal work, but could understand his father's words and ideas behind the seal. The portions he wrote down anyways. The book seemed to focus on the Hiration and his deciphering of Tobirama's version to create his own. He put the book away again, though, as even the first entry was too complicated for him to figure out. The journal broke down the Hiration and gave examples of Tobirama's and Minato's differences for the seals made, but some of the entries didn't explain how. That wasn't quite good enough to be able to figure out something like the Hiration other than the interesting breakthroughs he had with his seals. His training with Madara and Hashirama was going well. His Sharingan now had 2 tomoe each. He was becoming proficient in the gunbei, and his taijutsu skills were at Chunin level according to the commander. The only thing he really lacked was experience in actual combat scenarios. According to his Madara, the standards of Konoha had truly fallen, even if the old education system had been implanted, and that according to him and Hashirama, he was only at genin strength, but until he graduated he could keep training, and sure, he could pass early if he wanted, but he would much rather get in as much training as he could before he had to graduate, because after that he wouldn't have as much time to train how he wanted. He would have to do team training and do D-rank missions anyways. He had received the Akimichi list and a lot of his free time was making the scrolls. He had the scroll with the number of required seals inside of it, and he was to design the scroll sleeve of each scroll, which was mostly just drawing a Kimichi clan symbol on either side of whichever Kimichi name it was. He still spent time with Shino and Hinata each week, as well as spending time with the Ino Shikacho Juniors. Thought that was mostly Shaji with Shikamaru, ramen contests with Chaji, and Ino just kinda tagged along. Speaking of Shoji, though he occasionally participated in the underground tournaments, he never made it to the final rounds, but each time, he felt like he was improving and learning. His colony was growing as well. In another half a year or so he would have to replace his 10 galleon gourd with the 20 galleon gourd. His birthday came and went, the celebration even larger than last year's as more people came to celebrate it. He was now 11 years old. Nothing else of any real importance happened though, and so the academy's second year came to a peaceful end. Naruto grinned excited. In just another week it would be time for him to once more go to the tournament. Naruto was at the gate waiting for his guard to show up. He had made his request yesterday, and had gotten all of his stuff including some new formal clothes, though as always it had the leaf symbol embroidered on the back of the coat, just underneath where his hair ended. He waited at gate and right as 7 a.m. came about. A man appeared in a shunshin. He had his forehead protector wrapped around his head like a bandana. He had 2 scars across his face, and he wore a trench coat. "My name is Ibiki Morino. I am to be your guard for your trip," the man stated flatly. "Cool. Nice to meet you, Ibiki-san," Naruto stated as they headed out. The journey continued in mostly silence. Naruto tried to start conversations, but Ibiki was like a rock. He didn't display an emotion, and only answered questions briefly with the minimal amount of information possible, or sometimes not even answering the question. Naruto didn't even realize the man hadn't even answered his question and instead redirected the conversation until Madara mentioned it. Naruto had pouted for a moment. Anyways, it was the 3rd day of traveling now when Ibiki finally asked a question. "Hokage-sama informed me that you are an honorary shinobi of Iwa," though he did not state how this came to happen, and though he didn't phrase it as a question, Naruto knew it was in fact a question. So inwardly smirking, he decided to copy the man's earlier mannerisms as a bit of payback. "Yes, I am an honorary shinobi of Iwa," Naruto confirmed. Then he didn't say anything else. He noticed Ibiki glance at him. "How did you become an honorary shinobi of Iwa?" he asked. "Wanna bet?" Naruto answered the question as directly as he could, without lying, but also leaving out the background information. Same as Ibiki had done. The man's expression changed for the first time since they had left Konoha as he smirked slightly. The rest of the day continued like that, the man making statements, or asking questions, and Naruto mimicking how the man had answered his questions on the first day. Sometimes Hashirama or Madara providing input for how to redirect the conversation. As the 3rd day ended, and they got ready to sleep, Ibiki nodded at him. "You did fairly well mimicking how I answered questions the first day." "Thanks," Naruto stated, confused if that was a compliment or not. Ibiki just smirked again as he went into his tent. Naruto shrugged and went to sleep himself. The next day the man once more asked him questions, But after Naruto answered trying to once more mimic the man's evasive ways, Ibiki told him how to do it better, guiding him, saying that misdirection was a valuable ninja tool. Naruto eagerly listened. He loved learning things that were interesting. Slowly Naruto's newly learned skill of misdirection and answer evasion improved. They arrived the 5th day of travel. About mid-afternoon Naruto was waved through, though the gate guards eyed Ibiki with fear. Naruto shrugged at that and made his way to the Tsuchikage building. He entered old man Inoki's room with a smile. "Hey old man," he greeted with a grin. "Brat." The man grunted back before he looked up. He looked at Naruto's guard, and his eyes started twitching. "Why did the Hokage saw fit to have your guard be Konoha's mind breaker Morino?" he asked flatly. "Mind breaker Morino?" Naruto asked, tilting his head and looking up at his guard, who just had a small smirk on his face. Inoki sighed. "I guess this is just another attempt to learn the tournament." "Probably," Naruto agreed with a nod. "Well, good to see you're still going to put up a fight even if this is the year I reclaim my throne," Inoki said, smirking at the boy. "Huh? You wish, Oji-san. I've held this title for 4 years now. I ain't letting you take it away from me," Naruto stated, grinning. "HMPF. Well, I'm sure Deidara will be happy to see you. That brat has been bouncing around waiting for you to arrive. Go have fun," Inoki stated, submissively. "Alright. Where is he usually?" "I just run into him. I will lead you to him," a person said, stepping out of the wall. Naruto blinked, then shrugged at seeing the masked figure. "Probably an Iwa Anbu." Lead the way. He happily followed as the man jumped out the window. The Iwa Anbu led him through the village and into a gated compound. "This is where Deidara lives," the Iwa Anbu said, bowing his head as he left. Naruto shrugged and knocked on the door. A half-minute later the door opened to reveal Deidara. "Hey, what brings Naruto-kun?" Deidara started, then he grew. As he saw Naruto, the older boy bent down and hugged Naruto, ruffling his hair. "Deidara." Naruto beamed back, returning the hug happily. "Finally. I've missed having someone who understands the true beauty of art to talk with," the boy said, bouncing. "I've made so many improvements since you were last here. You know the bird explosion I created last year? Well, now I can do that with my spiders and other creations as well. That was easy. But I figured out how to have more control of my clay creations after I throw them. Check this out." Deidara pulled out a bird figure and tossed it on the ground a few feet away. It expanded, and he jumped on. "Let me show you." "Jump on." Curious Naruto nodded, and he did. Ibiki jumping up as well. Then, to Naruto's surprise, the bid lifted up and took off, flying to the explosion testing field within seconds. While Naruto exclaimed, "Yeah, I can now directly control its flight. Anyways, you know I have the explosion release, which means I have 2 primary affinities of lightning and earth, and well, I have mastered the 2 affinities already, and the old man thought I should see if I have a secondary affinity, which I do. It's fire. So seeing as how my art results in a fiery blast, I wondered if I could control the fire," he started explaining. As they hoped of the bird flew up, and 100 feet in the air it exploded. It still retained its shape of the bird, though it was bigger now, and made of fire. Deidara was holding a hand sign, and then the fire bird started flying around. Before a few seconds later it dissipated. He released the hand sign, and panted out of breath. "Wow, so cool." Naruto enthused, very impressed. Deidara beamed at him. "Yep. So how is your art going? Do you got a T4 yet?" "No, I'm still having issues controlling the 3-tail cloak," Naruto replied with a shrug. "Ah well," Deidara said. "I do have a bit of an idea though. I thought I could try here. You might be able to incorporate it as well." "Oh," and Naruto nodded, and pulled out a small ball, bigger than a marble. "What is that?" Deidara asked. "It's a layer T-bomb. The idea behind this is the outer layer is the smallest explosion, in this case my T1. The middle layer would be the medium explosion, my T2, and the very center would be my T3. You would start with exploding the outer layer, which will hopefully set the second layer off, and then the third, each getting larger and more deadly." "Brilliant. If your opponent gets out range of the first blast, they might not of the second or third." Naruto nodded. He placed the explosion down, and the 2 back far away. Then Naruto lifted them up into the air. "Katsu," he shouted, exploding the bomb. An explosion rocked out after the normal few sec delay, but that was it. Only one explosion, granted, though it was as if it was a slightly larger T1. Naruto pouted. "Ah, he and moderate choice. Looks like that didn't work. I wonder why." "I don't know. Maybe the explosion, because of how hot it is, destroys the middle portions of the bomb before they are given a chance to activate. If that's so, then I need to protect the other layers." Naruto reached into his pocket and pulled out a pre-made T3. "How to protect it from the explosion though until it can activate?" "Maybe a containment seal, but would that interfere when the explosion goes off and contain the explosion?" Naruto murmured out loud as he pulled out a low-yield explosion. Pulling out his sealing ink, he drew the containment seal on the little bead. As he did this, Deidara started working on his own explosive experiments, throwing the bead as far he could. He watched it go far away in the air, until lost sight of it with the Katsu. Deidara looked up to watch. A few seconds later, they watched as nothing seemed to happen. Both boys not knowing where the bead was frowned. I wonder what happened. Deidara questioned. Your bomb exploded, but the containment seal stopped it from expanding outwards. Ibiki informed them. Hashirama pouted and closed his mouth. Not quite what I wanted to happen. So the seal acted as a barrier for the explosion. What if you were to wrap each layer in my chakra? Theoretically, since the explosions are made from my chakra, it shouldn't hurt anything with demonic chakra, Kurama stated, forming himself as the foxbug clone. Ibiki stared. What do you mean? Deidara asked. Well, the explosion you see may look like it's made of fire, but it is in fact just my demonic chakra. My chakra is super hot. Naruto here doesn't feel its heat because he is protected by me. I can negate the more negative effects of my chakra, so long as he does not get more than he or his body can handle anyway. Since my chakra is concentrated into that clay, it becomes highly agitated, waiting for it to release. When given the command, then it explodes out at a rush, decimating everything for a small bit and then just continuing to disperse outwards, which while still hot, eventually thins out enough to not burn everything. If Naruto was cloaked in my chakra of equal or greater amount than what is being exploded, then he should not be affected by it. If it was something stronger like him using a two-tail cloak versus a T3 bomb, then it would affect him, though greatly reduced from what a normal person would experience, Kurama explained. Wow! Deidara said, his eyes going wide at the information. Naruto thought over it. So if your theory is true, then between the outer layer and the middle layer we would wrap one tail of your chakra around it, which should stop the T2 bomb from being destroyed, and then the T2 would blow up, overpowering the one-tail cloak of chakra around it, and between the T2 layer and T3 layer it would need a two-tail cloak protection. But how will we wrap your chakra around the layer? If we just made the in-between layers, wouldn't they end up like the explosions? Not in this case. Before we would be shoving my chakra into the clay this time. We will be wrapping it around the object. Oh, I see. Once we do that, then can we just wrap a new layer around like we did for the previous layer bomb? Kurama looked thoughtful. We might. But the cloak around the bead may not allow it. Also, how do you plan to set off all layers? The idea behind the other was that the explosion itself would make a chain reaction, but with my chakra protecting each layer from the explosion, that won't happen. Well, I could activate it multiple seconds, giving a few seconds delay in between each one, or more if needed. Actually, it could be used to deceive opponents who would only expect the one explosion. And Naruto started cackling as his brain led him to many ideas. To be fair though, Madara was cackling alongside him as Hashirama inched away. Kurama and Deidara both grinned as well, knowing exactly where Naruto was going. After all, if they expected only one explosion, and they got to close, they would be in for a surprise by the second more bigger explosion. Alright Kurama, let's see if wrapping the second layer of clay around the cloak works. If it doesn't, then we can try and figure out how to fix it. The foxbug clone dispersed his Bikachu, returning to the gourd. Naruto once more pulled out the three-tail bomb, and he and Kurama wrapped the two-tail chakra around the bead, with the chakra compressing itself around the bead. Naruto hissed and was forced to drop the marble, as when the last of his cloak left him, his hands were unprotected from the heat. Physically transform your hands, that will protect you from the heat, Kurama said from within the gourd. Naruto nodded, and concentrating, his hands transformed for sporting and his fingers elongating with claws growing out. Wicked, Deidara said with a grin. Naruto smiled. Happily he picked up the bead, which had started melting a hole in the stone. He didn't feel any heat on his hands, though his arms past the transformation could feel that it was releasing heat, just not enough burn anymore. Pulling out a T2 and his small bottle of water with an eyedropper, he put some water on the dried out clay, making it malleable again, as he then went to wrap it around chakra cloak T3. Luckily, it seemed the cloak allowed the clay to be wrapped around it, though it quickly redried the clay. They then wrapped the second layer in a one-tail cloak. Grabbing a T1, he wetted it and wrapped it around second layer. He noticed that the T1, which was normally a lighter shade of gray, become darker and darker until it was pitch black. Then the bead shrunk down to Naruto's normal marble size. The heat the bomb had been expanding even with the cloak covered completely dissipated. That looks terrifying, Deidara said. Naruto cautiously dropped his physical transformation. The marble of clay felt completely smooth, as if made of glass. It wasn't hot at all. I wonder why it changed, he mused out loud. I may have had an effect on it, because I was willing my chakra to let the clay surround it. I was shaping out the chakra would act. My chakra is an extension of my will, meaning as such even after it leaves my body I can control it until it disappears. That why by sending my chakra to the colony we control, I can talk and move around anyways. Because of how I was willing it to act as it left my body, it must have reacted to how it thinks would best work. The only thing we can try is to explode it and see what happens. Alright then, I'm gonna go down and place it. I'll be right back, Naruto said as he jumped down and used his chakra to stick to the pillar. As he ran down it, he placed his bomb in the center of the crater he had made earlier with the failed layer bomb, Turning away he ran from it back up the tower. Ready? Naruto asked. Deidara, and Ibiki nodded. Katsu. Naruto shouted a second later. He shouted Katsu a second time, and then he said, Katsu for the third time. Right as the T1 layer went off a second after the T1 exploded, a second explosion ringed out. Then another second later, the final T3 exploded. Each explosion rapidly overtook the other, making the explosion of demonic chakra to expand even further than a normal T3 bomb. They were spared from the blast by a mere 50 feet, the heat from the blast ruffling Ibiki's coat. Whoa, that was bigger than expected. That was awesome. Look at the crater, Deidara shouted, pointing. The crater was now 25 feet deep, with a circular radius of 50 feet of completely vaporized rock, and the sides were of course still melting. The blast radius was 650 feet. Luckily they had been 700 feet away. Cool. The boys whispered in identical pyromaniacal glee. The rest of the day was spent with Deidara experimenting with his clay, trying to create a similar effect to Naruto's triple L bomb. Naruto had originally called it the low-level layered bomb, but Deidara had said it was too long and renamed it. Naruto crafted 2 more of the black bombs before he couldn't make any more, as Kurama was out of chakra. He had to make one of these bombs from scratch. He would only be able to make one, and it would eat up all 9 tails of chakra. Naruto was excited. Once he would be able to make the second tier of this bomb, which he decided would be the 4-tail, 5-tail, and 6-tail bombs. He still had a long way to go before he could make that, though. After night fell, the 2 boys went out to eat before they headed their separate ways. Naruto smiled as he got ready to go to bed. Today had been a fun day. Ibiki Hokage-sama, he said respectfully, bowing before standing back up idly. He noticed that the Anbu who usually guarded the Hokage were absent. Ibiki-kun, could I have a mission for you? He raised an eyebrow, surprised and questioning. It wasn't often he got a mission. Must be vital information that they couldn't afford to let slip. He saw the Hokage look amused before he said, your mission is to guard Naruto Uzumaki on his yearly trip to Iwa. Ibiki frowned slightly at that. Why was he being assigned to Uzumaki? You are aware, as head of TNI, that we have a new spy master whose identity is unknown to most. Correct. He gave a nod to the Hokage, wondering where the leader was going with this. Surely he couldn't mean Naruto Uzumaki is that spy master. How can he be the spy master? Ibiki asked. Naruto-kun has an ability. We are not sure if it is in fact a bloodline or not, but it allows him to see spirits. His face carefully remaining neutral, he thought over that information. If Uzumaki was able to see spirits, can he speak with them? Yes. He has a network of spirits that people do not even know exist, much less expect to spy on them. Ibiki spoke in realization, and also wanting confirmation that is correct. Your mission is not just to guard Naruto-kun, you are to help him learn to be able to withstand word games and mind games. You can use this as an opportunity to see how well you think he can handle being probed for information. Since he was so young I've put this off, but he is in regular proximity to sensitive information that even most Junin aren't aware of. Ibiki nodded. Very well, and Ibiki, Naruto likes to surprise his guards with a few things. I normally wouldn't warn the guard, but I know you do not appreciate surprises. He is an honorary shinobi of Iwa, as well as able to control the Kyuubi's chakra up to 3 tails, though if he has to use the 3 tails in a battle there is a chance of him losing control. Iwa knows of his heritage and his burden. That should be it for his major surprises. He frowned a bit at that but gave a respectful bow as he left. Hearing the dismissal in the Hokage's voice the next day, he met up with Uzumaki, who seemed excited as they left. The boy asked him questions throughout the first day. He answered as evasively as he could, sometimes redirecting the questions away so he didn't have to answer. At first it seemed like Uzumaki was unaware of what he was doing. Then Uzumaki's eyes flickered to the side, and then back at him, where he pouted. Could that have been him listening to a spirit? The second day not much happened. The third decided to test how Uzumaki would answer his questions. Hokage-sama informed me that you are an honorary shinobi of Iwa. Though he did not state how this came to happen, he stated purposely, making it sound like a question even though none was directly asked. Yes, I am an honorary shinobi of Iwa, Uzumaki confirmed. Ibiki inwardly nodded in approval. How did you become an honorary shinobi of Iwa? He asked curiously to how the boy would answer the direct question. I won a bet, Uzumaki answered. Ibiki gave a small smirk. Throughout the rest of the day, he continued testing Uzumaki. It became clear throughout the day the boy was doing his best to mimic how he had answered the questions on the first day. The next day he gave Uzumaki pointers and tips how to better misdirect the other person with answers. The boy surprisingly took the tips well and applied them. At the beginning of the 5th day, Uzumaki put on his honorary shinobi headband. As they continued their journey, they were waved through the gate easily, though he did notice the guards eye him with fear. Inwardly he smirked. He loved his reputation. Naruto made his way to a building Ibiki recognized as where the Tsuchikage resided from reports. Naruto entered a room without even knocking, and cheerfully greeted the Tsuchikage. When Inoki looked up he noticed that the Tsuchikage's eyes started twitching. Why did the Hokage saw fit to have your guard be Konoha's mind breaker Morino? He asked flatly. Mind breaker Morino? Uzumaki asked, tilting his head, and looking up at him. He gave the boy a small smirk. Inoki sighed. I guess this is just another attempt to learn the tournament. Probably. Uzumaki agreed with a nod. Inoki then smirked, and told the boy he was going to win. Uzumaki just scoffed at him, and told Inoki that he wasn't going to lose. They then left to go meet someone named Deidara. As they followed an Iwa Anbu they were led to a house, and Uzumaki shared a hug with an older boy whose hair looked startling with how close the shade was to Naruto's. The difference was where Uzumaki's mane of hair was spiky, the other boy Deidara had more flat hair. The two started talking about art, or was it explosions? Anyways, Deidara made some kind of bird construct, and jumped on Uzumaki, jumping on as well. He followed as he continued watching just what was happening. Soon they were dropped down onto a rocky training field. He watched as the bird construct they had just got off flew up into the air, and with a katsu from Deidara it exploded, becoming at least 4 times larger before it started flying around for a few seconds, made a fire before it dissipated. Then Uzumaki revealed that he had created a new type of explosion. Ibiki watched curious. He had heard about Uzumaki's explosions, even bought a pack of the T1s to have on hand. He listened as Uzumaki explained that he was hoping it would explode one after another, like a cluster bomb. He watched as Uzumaki placed it in, and then they backed far away, and being lifted into the air by a Dodon Jutsu. Uzumaki then exploded the bomb. Unfortunately it seemed as though it didn't work. Then Uzumaki rambled on a bit before drawing a seal on one of his low-yield explosions. He watched as the boy threw it, his eyes keeping track of it. As the boy said katsu, he saw a small white flash, but the containment seal stopped it from exploding outwards. He blinked as bugs came out of the gourd on Uzumaki's back, and formed a small fox figure which took the appearance of a miniature Kyuubi, only with 1 tail instead of 9. He watched as the clone started talking. The Iwa boy didn't even seem surprised. Next came a conversation about the demonic chakra, and how it was utilized in the Uzumaki's bomb making. After a bit the boy started cackling evilly. Though to be fair to the boy, if this new layer bomb worked it would be very destructive, as the opponent would only expect 1 explosion, not multiple, with each getting larger. Then Uzumaki got to work creating the bomb. After he seemed to be done they all watched as the bomb shrunk a bit as it turned pitch black. The heat that had been dispersing from it was suddenly gone. The boy went to place it before coming back up. He shouted katsu 3 times, a second delay in between each shout. Right as he finished the first explosion happened. He watched, prepared to take action if the blast was going to get too close. But he noticed it lose moment and the blast stopped 50 feet away from them. The 2 boys were gleeful as they looked at the crater made. Finally the day came to an end, and Uzumaki led them to a hotel. Naruto got dressed, and ready for the tournament. Making his way for breakfast at the ramen stand he saw Deidara waiting there for him. The 14-year-old boy smiled at him. Hey, I know I would find you here, Un. He greeted, wrapping an arm around Naruto in a hug. Hey Deidara. Naruto replied, leaning into the older boy's hug. He enjoyed spending time with the explosion-loving boy. You ready to defeat the old man again? Deidara asked. Yeah. Sweet. I heard they changed the Wheel of Addition this year. Oh yeah, they want to try something different for round 3. I don't know what it was, but apparently they do this every 10 years or so to try and shake up the leaderboard. Interesting. I wonder what it could be. Naruto replied as he ate his 10th bowl of ramen. Say, Ibiki-san, will you be participating in the tournament? I have still not been informed as to what this tournament is, Ibiki responded. Naruto and Deidara smirked. What else could it be? It is one of the most dangerous things known to humankind. A game more deadly than any other. One mistake can ruin any pride you have. Your mind can crumble underneath the pressure. The 2 boys chorused. Well, probably not you, Deidara amended at the end. Ibiki glowered down at the 2 boys. Though his facial expression didn't even seem to change from his normal flat expression, nothing seemed to change, yet he seemed intimidating. All of the sudden, the 2 boys started sweating nervously. Were you 2 trying to be threatening and ominous? Yes, Naruto managed to squeak out, while Deidara just nodded. That was pathetic, the man stated, the threatening aura disappearing. The 2 boys pouted, and then Naruto asked, can you teach us how to be more intimidating? Then Deidara grinning as well, the 2 boys looking up at Ibiki, their eyes sparkling in admiration. I suppose I can you boys a tip. What do you 2 know of killing intent? Depending on the level of the user, the victim feels like they're going to die. The stronger the user, the more severe the effect on the victim. Correct. And do you know to use it? It's a chakra manipulation of a sort. Yeah, Naruto said hesitantly, remembering a chat between a couple Anbu a few weeks back. Ibiki gave a nod. Correct, you utilize your chakra to convey an emotion or A feeling, such as the user's will to kill something. The two boys nodded. If it's utilizing chakra to convey emotions or feelings, it means it can't be stuff other than your intention to kill. Deidara asked out loud. Naruto nodded, which means that feeling just then was it a killing intent only with the feeling of intimidation. Correct. Most commonly known as the threatening aura. I am one of the most proficient users in Konoha, as is Kakashi. I seen it. He that face mask guy that came with you a couple years back. Yeah, anyways. How do we utilize our chakra to convey emotions? Naruto asked. You already got your tip, Ibiki stated, turning away. The boys pouted. Madara scoffed. It is easy. Hashirama uses it, only he prefers to mask his comrades with the feeling of peace and safety, which is why people often say his chakra is warm and comfortable, because he is almost constantly emitting chakra manipulation. I tend not to use it too much. Yep. So you just let your chakra roam free around you, focus on the emotion you want to convey, and make your target feel, and that's the basics of it. To direct it at someone, just push your chakra in that direction when you let it roam free around you. Naruto frowned a bit, twitching his right leg. He asked, How to let your chakra roam free around you? Hashirama correctly interpreted. The boys started walking to the tournament as Hashirama spoke next. Well, you should feel your chakra inside you, that it stays inside your skin, until you direct it outside via technique. What you need to figure out how to do it is to let it outside of your skin without directing it for a technique. It should be relatively simple, though you may have to figure out by relaxing, he explained as they walked into the building. Since they didn't have time to practice it, Naruto just filed the information away for later. As soon as they arrived in the main area, cheer went up, with screams of Naruto-kun, a few for their Deidara-kun. The two boys shuddered. Fangirls, if there is one reason I'm glad I'm not first, it's cause of fangirls. The old man didn't have to deal with them since he's so old, and he was married. Deidara muttered. Naruto sighed. At least, since I live in Konoha, I don't have to deal with them the majority of the time. I don't know what's worse, being hounded by fangirls, or being hated for Kurama. Deidara shrugged in answer. Inoki came over with smirk. Alright brat, this year for sure I will reclaim my throne. You wish, old man. Usual bet, the old man said with a smirk. You're on, OG-san. Naruto agreed with that. The tournament was on. It proceed till the third round. This year for the third round, find a partner to tag team with. You and your partner both have to win to move on to the next round. Your partner will be the person you're sitting next to. Naruto blinked and looked at Ibiki, who had decided to participate. The man had been sitting next to him since he was his guard. The two tag team their opponents, Ibiki using his reputation and intimidation thing to scare his opponent and easily win. Next for round 4, the two who had tag team had to face each other. Just because I'm your guard doesn't mean I'm going easy on you, Ibiki stated, staring at him. That intimidating aura focused on him. Naruto froze. A feeling of fear entered him. Then Hashirama placed his hand on Naruto's shoulder, and a wave of peace and calmness flowed through him. Naruto grinned as he looked at Ibiki. The man saw that his intimidation tactic was no longer working and frowned a bit as Madara called out the moves to make. Naruto grinned as he won against Ibiki. The tournament continued as normal as Naruto easily won against the rest of his opponents, including Inoki. Rest of the day was of course spent signing items and chatting with the fans a little bit. The group left at the end to go eat and then relax in the hot springs. There was nothing better to end the day with than a nice relaxing visit to the hot springs. The next day he woke up and found a scroll on his bedside stand. Opening, he saw it was a jutsu scroll from Inoki. Getting changed, he went to find Deidara, which he went to the Bakuden place and saw the older boy eating an extra plate on the table. Were you waiting for me? Naruto asked, amused. Yep. The two ate before heading to the explosion training field, which had basically been given to them to keep their destructiveness in one place. The training field was once more fixed, probably a ninja using an earth jutsu to fix the training field. Naruto told Deidara what Hashirama told him about the technique of manipulating their chakra to convey emotions. The two boys began practicing it, both learning it within a couple hours to a beginner's level. Next, Naruto set out to learning the earth jutsu he had been given, which was daten, hidden in stones. Jutsu had allowed him to merge into any rocky surface and travel through stone. Not so useful on the dirt, but in a rocky place like Iwa it was very good for some reason. This jutsu seemed familiar, but he couldn't really remember why it was familiar. Shrugging it off as not important, he continued practicing the jutsu, getting pointers from Madara and Hashirama. By the end of the day he was able to partially merge into the stone. The two boys ate once more. Naruto, though, this time pulled out his scroll of food and stocked up on Bakuden and Inurizushi. Here in Iwa he got it for the same price as everyone else, unlike in Konoha, where he was charged a few bucks more. When he explained this to the staff, they were more than happy to help him. He made sure to leave a giant tip for them for any trouble his request may have caused. They didn't seem to mind, though. The boy, after stocking up on food, went to his hotel and fell asleep. The next day Naruto woke up and headed to the gate. Deidara was waiting. For him the older boy ruffled his hair. I'll see you next year, and of course. I wouldn't miss it for the world. And next year, I should be a genin. Deidara smirked. I'm hoping to be a junin by that time. Naruto stuck his tongue out at the older boy. The boy laughed. Goodbye Naruto. Naruto smiled, and hugged Deidara. Goodbye Deidara. The older boy returned the hug smiling widely with that Naruto, and Ibiki began their journey back to Konoha. By the time the duo had returned to Konoha, Naruto had learned quite a bit about misdirection, and even a little bit about mind games to mess with people's heads. He wasn't that good at it yet, but Ibiki said that it took practice. The man offered to continue helping Naruto learn more about word games and mind games, which Naruto happily accepted. The duo arrived in the Hokage's office. Hello Naruto-kun, welcome back. Naruto smiled. It's good to be back home. How was your trip? Good. I'm still in first place, Naruto said with a thumbs up. I'm glad to hear about that. Will you tell me what the tournament is about? Finally. Nope. Ibiki, will you tell me what the tournament is about? You have allowed Naruto-kun to go do the tournament without knowing what it is. For 5 years. The Hokage gave a nod. No, I will not tell you, Ibiki stated flatly. Oh well. There's always next year, the Hokage said dismissively. Anything interesting happened? Naruto pulled out a tiny black marble out of his pouch. I got my triple L bomb to work. Triple L bomb? Yeah, it's my low-level layered bomb. It has 3 bombs in it. They explode on command. Like, you explode the first one, and then you can explode the second one whenever you want. Same for the third. I see. Anything else? Deidara's art is getting even cooler. That's nice. What jutsu did you win this year? Doten. Hidden in Stone's jutsu. Naruto answered. Interesting. Alright then. I guess you're ready to go home, and tell Jiraiya all about your adventure this year. May I guess? Naruto said with a shrug. The pervert was okay most of the time. He just didn't like the fact the man hated Janken. How one could even hate the game was beyond him. Naruto took his leave though, and went to the small house he and Jiraiya lived in. The man came down to investigate the sound of the door opening and smiled at seeing him enter. Looks like you're back from your vacation. Brat, how was it? Good. I won. Let's continue with my SEAL training. Yeah, alright fine. Kurama popped out and jumped up onto the couch to relax. He tended to remain hidden when they were in the village proper, but sometimes he popped out to make a comment or tell Naruto something. Whenever he was in some place he deemed safe, he appeared and roamed around as he pleased. Soon the rest of December passed, and with the passing of January 1st, the third and final year of the academy was beginning. This year's focus was jutsus while keeping the other skills at the level needed or improving it. The jutsus that were being taught were known as the basic 7, one of each element, which Naruto already knew. The other 2 were the substitution and henge. They were being taught by a teacher known as Iruka, and his assistant a woman named Safaya, and so as Naruto sat next his 2 friends, Shino and Hinata, he once more dozed the academy away. He played shogi against Shikamaru every month or so. He still occasionally participated in the shogi tournament, but he never really made it more than halfway through. The competition was very tough indeed. Anyways, it was now March, and the academy had just finished for the day. Shino and Hinata were walking no Konoha to drop Hinata off at her house. Is that he heard voice whisper behind him? Ignoring his instincts that were telling him to run, he continued on his way. After all, they had probably spotted Sasuke, who was walking across the street from them, which was why he was unprepared for the 2 girls to appear in front of him. It is Naruto-kun, he twitched. I can't believe we found you when our parents said we were coming to Konoha to pick up some supplies we had, though we might see you, but Konoha is such a big place. We can't believe we actually get to meet you. It's an honor. Will you please sign our poster? There you are, girls. What did we tell you about running off like that? A man said as he appeared. Then he spotted Naruto. On Naruto-sama. I didn't see you here. Naruto sighed and gave a polite smile. It's fine. Honestly, I didn't expect to meet some fans here. He heard Shino's buzz and what he recognized as laughter. Shino was laughing at him. Hinata though was standing behind him shyly. He quickly signed the posters. It was nice to meet you girls. I hope you enjoy your stay in Konoha, he said politely, giving a small bow to the family. What was that? A more familiar voice asked. Naruto turned to Sasuke, who was staring at him in confusion. None of your business, team, he told him. Naruto didn't like boy. First he tried to make him choose between Shino and him, and then when Naruto does choose Shino, Sasuke spreads rumors about the 2 which didn't really bother them much, but it was annoying to the academy and lower-ranking ninjas. He was known as the dead last and loser. To the higher-ranking ninjas he was known as the bomb maker. To a select few, he was known as the spy master. He was an honorary shinobi of Iwa and famous for being good at cheating in the Janken tournament. And he was also an undercover Anbu for Konoha, and infamous for carrying the Kyuubi to the clans. He was someone making ripples, and there were thoughts that Naruto would be bringing a new clan to the playing fields, though it was uncertain what the clan would be exactly. His tightest held secret was his Sharingan. The only people who knew about it were him, Kirima, and Shimmers. And his GG knew, but he kept it a secret from the majority of the civilians. He didn't want to be known as Uchiha, or worse, being accused of stealing the Sharingan, or any of the other bollocks the civilians might do if they found out. Besides, a ninja's greatest strength is the ability no one knows about. It was something Tobirama had said. The man agreed with his reasons for keeping the Sharingan a secret, which led to his final year of training before he would graduate, which was in October. He still trained at the Anbu headquarters, but that was mostly sparring with other Anbu members. He could only fight at Chunin speeds, even if he could process information at Anbu speed, and run at Anbu speed without weights, and with chakra. But his body wasn't used to fighting at the higher speeds, just defending against faster opponents. He also trained in utilizing 4 tails of Kirima's cloak, and could now safely use it in a non-battle scenario, such as his bombs, though he still wasn't allowed to test his bombs here in Konoha. After all, the explosions were devastating even to stone on dirt. The ninjas reported that the ground was often twice the crater than on rock, meaning a T1 5-foot deep 10-foot round on solid rock was often 10 feet deep, and 20 feet round on the dirt. His SEAL training continued by Jiraiya and Tobirama, which he was actually starting to understand some of the stuff his father was going on about in his journal. The journal was about his father's work on the Hiraition. The SEAL work for the Hiraition is simply amazing. I have been studying Tobirama's work on it for quite a while now, and I am only just starting to understand how it had been put together. Unfortunately, though, the SEAL work on the Hiraition is user-specific, meaning each user of the jutsu has to craft their own seal, though the concept around each seal remains the same. I have begun deconstructing Tobirama's Hiraition into the separate parts I find, such as this part. It is a chakra location seal, tiny and minuscule by itself. It is actually a central piece to the Hiraition, allowing the user to home in on the location of which the seal is placed on. But this seal is already modified. It needs to be attuned to the individual's chakra, and only that person can feel the chakra location seal at any given location, unlike the normal version of this seal, which sends a small beacon to any ninja able to feel it in a nearby distance. The entry goes on theorizing how someone might modify the seal to respond to one user. On the page next to the entry was a couple drawings of the seals. One was labeled Tobirama's chakra location seal, the other was labeled basic chakra location seal. Naruto could definitely see that there was a minuscule amount of difference between the two. A few lines added here, a few taken away, with only one new mini seal attached to Tobirama's. It was that mini seal that Naruto couldn't figure out. His father had on the next page written his success, and drew what his modified seal looked like, but didn't state how he was successful. The seal looked exactly like Tobirama's except for the fact that the mini seal was different, which meant that he had to figure out what purpose the mini seal had. He figured it was the main component to locking in the chakra signature of the user, and giving the location of the seal to the user only, but he didn't see how the little seal did it. He decided to start with the theories his father had written about how to make the mini seal. It had taken a few weeks, but he finally got it. The mini seal was created when Naruto mixed a drop of his blood in the ink, and channeled chakra into the mini seal as he drew a basic lock seal. It was after he created this that he saw that Tobirama's and his father's was exactly the same, only both drew the lock seal differently. Nodding, he decided to do the same, and drew his lock seal in a swirl, similar to the Uzumaki crest. The use of the blood made the lock seal a partial blood seal. Luckily, though, it wasn't anything more complicated than just binding the seal to him, as then he wouldn't be able to do it without delving further into blood seals. He had tested the seal by creating a few of them on slips of paper, and placing them in a few locations. As soon as he placed and activated them, he could feel tear locations in his mind, letting him know where they were at, though it was more of a general sense of location than a specific image. It was at this point he realized why his father had complained about having to memorize the entire elemental nations map. If he could have a mental map of the nations, and he connected those sparks of location from where he stood to wherever he was, then would know where he was going if he teleported to a Hiraition that was out of sight, which was truly amazing that Minato had remembered the entire map, and was able to pinpoint which Hiraition tag was where and accurately teleport to each one. So Naruto started working on being able to memorize the elemental nations. Tobirama said he was proud of Naruto for trying to figure out the Hiraition. Naruto hadn't even considered asking the man for help, as he wanted to figure it out himself. Following the notes his father had left, Tobirama also mentioned that he had never really considered using the Hiraition as Minato had used it. Naruto didn't know how he would use the Hiraition if he ever figured out all of the seals and components, but even if he didn't use it in all of his battle like Minato did, it would still be useful to have in case of a tight situation as a way to escape. The next seal in the formation was a blood seal. which Naruto was not allowed to work on yet since he hadn't learned about blood seals. He was still learning how to wield a gunbei from Madara, which he started carrying on him via a sealed sheath. The sheath was small, only about 1.5 feet long, and was only as thick as a normal katana, but the seal work on it allowed Naruto to place the gunbei until only the handle stuck out. Madara had helped him get a gunbei made out of the same material as his old gunbei, which was near indestructible. His skills with the weapon weren't bad. He mostly could use it to defend himself. He was now learning how to conduct his chakra through the weapon. Hashirama was still working on his taijutsu, though he started teaching him the more attack-oriented style of his. Utilizing seals for his gunbei did give him an idea to use it for his gourd, so that he didn't have to carry a bigger gourd around to hold more of his Bikaichu. First though, he ran his idea across the Aburame clan, who agreed to test it to see if it harmed the bugs before they utilized the idea he had. A normal storage seal wouldn't work, though it had to be a seal that went across an opening much like his sheath to allow something in or out. That was simple. The other matter was allowing a living creature to go across through the threshold unharmed. Since the original seal wasn't designed with the living in mind, Naruto had to figure out a way to allow the bugs in and out of the expanded space. That would be the complicated way, though Naruto figured out after they realized the seal on his sheath would kill the bugs who tried to enter. No, the simple way was to simply put a basic expansion seal on the gourds to increase their size. That too had its limitations, but Naruto had already experimented with the seal before, and it was easy to make it instead of double the capacity, nearly 10 times the capacity. So a basic 5-galleon gourd was actually able to hold 50 galleons. Naruto decided to use the 5-galleon gourd as it could be placed easily on his back. The Aburame clan hired him to put this seal on some of the gourds. The only other thing he had done was pull a few pranks, including painting the Hokage monument with his friends by use of his Bikaichu. Shino helped him with his Kakeichu as they had their bugs dip their feet into different color paints before flying onto the Hokage monument. The duo did a spectacular job of painting the 4 Hokages to look exactly as they did when they were alive, Shino telling what colors to use were, since Naruto couldn't tell what colors were what. By the time night ended, the two had finished, and Hinata had one of the most important roles, as she had to use a Jinjutsu to make everyone think the Hokage monument looked normal, until the two boys were done. The next day pandemonium broke out as people realized that someone had painted the Hokage monument, and that they actually made the Hokages look more like 3D paintings. No one suspected the trio of academy students, no one except the Hokage, and a few others, who knew about Naruto's prankster nature. The only reason they doubted it was Naruto, was because it was common knowledge that he was colorblind. The Hokage just figured that Naruto's Shimmers helped him. Finally it came around to graduation. The exam took place at the beginning of October. Iruka pulled him to the side, at the end of the class the day before, and told him, "Naruto, I know you really want to be a ninja, but with your grades as low as they are from you forgetting to turn in assignments, the only way for you to pass would be to get a high score tomorrow." "Okay, sensei. No problem," Naruto said, happily waving the man's concern off. That night he went to bed excited. Tomorrow he would pass the test and become a true ninja of Konoha. Naruto got up the next morning and beamed. Today was the day. Opening his food scroll, he celebrated with a breakfast of inarizushi. He loved his scroll. Looking at his closet, he picked out one of his nicer coats. He grabbed a random shirt and pants. Grabbing his pouches, he attached them to his belt. His 5-galleon gourd was on his back horizontally. Next he grabbed his gunbei sheath, and placed it on his back. He was going to class fully decked out, and ready for anything. He was going to pass this test with flying colors, even if he would still be dead last due to him not paying attention. Spending a few moments on his hair, he tamed his wild mane. Grinning at his gray reflection, he started to head out. But he was stopped by Jiraiya. "Hey kiddo," the man said, smiling. "Ero Sennin." Naruto greeted back with a grin. "I just want you to know that even if you fail due to your lack of paying attention, I'm still proud of you, and will gladly accept you as my apprentice." "Why don't we just do that anyways?" Naruto asked. "Because sensei wants you to learn how to be part of team." Naruto wrinkled his nose. "I plan on passing anyways. I'm pretty sure Shino and Hinata can be the top of the class. Though Sasuke may win for the top shinobi, he and Shino are pretty close in scores. I see. And what if you don't get a team with those two?" I don't know. The only people I can't really get along with are Sasuke, Ino, and Sakura. I can sometimes work with the dog boy." "Alright then, good luck kiddo," Jiraiya said, hugging him. Naruto smiled and returned it before heading towards the academy. Sitting down next to Shino and Hinata, he smiled at them as they started lightly talking, excited for the prospect of becoming full-on ninja. Naruto knew he would be dead last, so he wondered who the top shinobi and kunoichi positions would go to. Sasuke and Shino were pretty close for the shinobi, and Sakura Aino and Hinata were at the top of the class for kunoichi. The first part of the test was a written test which Naruto answered easily, whether by actually knowing the answer, or by having Madara or Hashirama tell him the answer. Soon the papers were taken up, and Safaya started grading them while Iruka took them to where the next section of the test would be. It was testing their Bukijutsu skills. Moving targets were lined up, and they had to hit 4 out of 5 of the moving targets in vital places. They gave the students 5 kunai and 5 shuriken to use. The next portion of the test was a spar against the chunin, who would obviously be going easy on them but still pushing them to see how well their taijutsu was. They had 10 minutes each to give a good showing. Naruto fought against the chunin using his mixture of Hashirama and Madara's taijutsu. He went in for quick strikes, and then defended himself against the counterattacks. Finally it was time for the next portion, the ninjutsu test. They were led away from other students one by one. When it came to Naruto's turn they were at a wide open training field that had a water source nearby. Alright, show us the basic 7 ninjutsu. Naruto nodded and started with henge, then he did kormi. Holding up one hand sign he did the fireball jutsu. Once more with only one hand sign he quickly spat a wind blade making the fireball even larger and bigger. After the fireball disappeared he formed a water wall though he needed half of the hand signs. He followed that with the shock wave against needing half the hand signs, and then he finished with the earth dome, of which he only needed one hand sign. Iruka smiled and dismissed him, telling him the results would be given once everyone was done. Naruto returned back to the group as the next person was called. Finally they were led back to the classroom, and the 2 teachers started tallying the results. The kids anxiously waited. Congratulations everyone for putting forth the effort into Ninja Carer. I am proud to announce that all of you have passed the first exam. You are all now probationary genin until you are given your second test. I cannot tell you anything about the second test, only that your potential jounin senseis will assign it to you. With that being said you will be given a week off as we determine where to place each student. Safaya said, smiling gently. Yes, now I am sure you are all curious as to your class top students. This year's top shinobi is Sasuke Uchiha, though it was only a 5-point difference between him and Shino Aburame. The top kunoichi of the year is Sakura Hiruno, though it was a 1-point difference between her and Hinata Hyuga, and 2-point difference between her and Ino Yamanaka. Congratulations all of you, it has been one of the closest years I have ever seen for the top positions, and I wish all of you to continue your hard work. I'm proud to call you my students. Iruka said, smiling at all of them. The kids cheered. Sensei, who's the dead last? I bet it was the fox boy over there, Kiba said, giving Naruto a feral grin. The 2 boys never really spoke much, though they called each other fox boy and dog boy. They didn't get along really well, both of them liking to do things in their own ways. They kinda had a rivalry over which animal was better. Naruto of course had to defend foxes. Kiba said dogs were, since his clan revolved around having a dog partner. Iruka sighed. Naruto just grinned. Of course I'm dead last, how could I be anything but? That's the best spot in my opinion. Kiba scoffed. How can that be the best spot? The top spot is obviously the best. That's the best spot cause I'm in it, dog boy. Naruto stated, grinning foxily. Well, you are both correct. Naruto is the dead last. Iruka confirmed with a sigh. A few kids snickered but Naruto just smirked proudly. They would all realize one day that he had been tricking them all. He was going to become recognized by all of Konoha, and ultimately become Hokage. The class was dismissed. Naruto, Shino and Hinata celebrated graduating by going to Ichiraku's. Then the 2 went to their homes to tell their parents the good news. He went back to his home, and told Jiraiya the news. Now that they knew the class rankings it was easy to tell what the most likely teams were. Naruto, because he was dead last, would be placed on a team with Sasuke and Sakura. And with the Ino Shikacho Juniors, they would almost certainly be placed on a team, which meant that Hinata, Shino and Kiba would be placed together. The rest of the students were basically just cannon fodder if they passed the second exam, unless they stated developing a unique skill set, or became highly proficient in something. He knew that Ino Shikacho Juniors would most likely be specialized in capture and interrogation, just like their parents. Shino, Kiba, and Hinata would most likely be a tracking team. His team, he didn't know what his team would be. He himself was pretty decent at causing major amounts of damage with his bombs, and he had quite a few ninjutsu to back him up. Sasuke had taken to his clan style very well, and was hailed as a Uchiha prodigy by the civilians, since he had already unlocked his Sharingan, and had it at 3 Tomoe. It was Sakura he didn't know much about. Frankly, she seemed skilled in all of the stuff taught to the academy students, but he didn't know if she trained in something else, if she even bothered training while not at the academy. It was likely his team would be a heavy assault squad with Sakura providing backup and support. Shrugging off his thoughts he continued on his seal work. He was now learning about blood seals and their difference from regular seals. A knock on the door interrupted his work. He heard the door open before. "It's your friends Naruto." Jiraiya called up to him. "Coming." Naruto shouted back as he bookmarked and closed the book. Going down the stairs he saw his friends sitting on the couch. "Hey Shino, Hinata. What's up?" "The Akimichi have called for a celebratory feast to the clans with passing children. They asked that we inform you that you and your guardian are invited, since we're your friends," Hinata said softly. "Cool, when's the feast?" "Tonight at 6, it is a semi-formal occasion," Shino stated. "Neat, wait, why am I being invited? I don't have a clan," Naruto questioned. "You may not have a clan, but you are still well known and respected amongst most of the clans," Jiraiya answered. "Ah, okay then, I assume it's at the Akimichi clan grounds." "Correct. I'll be there." "I'm sorry I didn't get top Kunoichi Naruto-kun," Hinata said looking down. "That's fine. It was amazing, you three girls had such a tight competition for that top spot, and you were only 1 point behind Sakura." The girl smiled. "Well, what do you say we have a friendly three-way spar before getting ready for the feast?" Naruto asked. The two nodded and the three went outside. "Taijutsu only. If you are pushed out of bounds you lose. If you're knocked to the ground you lose." With that the three spared, Naruto and Shino teamed up to take down Hinata, since she was the best at taijutsu between the three. Naruto was a close second though, but he didn't specialize in taijutsu like the Hyuga did. The two boys managed to tag team her and kicked her out of the ring they had made. The girl watched as the two boys faced each other, and Naruto made a quick attack. Shino barely managed to dodge, even though he expected Naruto's quickness. The two boys traded blows for a few minutes before Naruto managed to slide Shino's legs out from underneath him, causing the boy to fall to the ground. He helped the boy up, and then the trio separated to go get ready for the fast-approaching feast. Naruto got dressed in his semi-formal clothes. He left his gunbei and pouches at home, though he brought his gourd. Over the years with his colony he grew used to them always being close, and now never left home without his colony. The Aburame completely understood his feelings. Naruto and Jiraiya left the house, and headed towards the Akimichi clan grounds. Once there they were welcomed in. "Greetings Jiraiya." "Naruto-san." Choza greeted the two shaking their hands. "I have to say those scrolls you made for us are one of the best things ever invented," Choza told him enthusiastically. "I'm glad you liked them." Naruto replied with a smile. "Well, I got others to go greet. Feel free to grab a plate of food, and sit down." The duo went and grabbed a plate, helping themselves to the many delicious food items the Akimichi had prepared for the feast. Naruto, once he fixed his plate, went to the table which had many chairs, and some others already sitting. Neither Shino nor Hinata were here yet though. "Hey, fox boy," Kiba called out to him. "What dog boy?" Naruto asked, heading over to him. "I saw you the other day with a fox around your neck. Why didn't you tell me that you have a fox Ninken?" "'Cause I don't." "Oh yeah, then why did I hear him speak?" Kurama formed himself sitting on the table. "Does that answer your questions, Mutt?" Kurama stated. "Uzumaki-san, what is that?" A woman with a resemblance to Kiba asked. "Kurama, he's using a fox bug clone," Naruto said dismissively. The woman looked at Jiraiya, who just smirked. The fox sniffed as it looked at the food, before he glared at the food. Naruto snorted seeing Kurama lick his snout. The bijou glared at him before dispersing the bug clone. "Who's Kurama?" Kiba asked. Naruto shrugged. "The fox you just met." "That's not what I meant. How does your bugs form a completely different living entity than you?" "'Cause my Bikachu are special," Naruto replied dismissively. Kiba pouted. Soon more quests arrive and Hinata and Shino come sit next to him. The feast continued on for a couple hours, people eating and mingling together. The 8 kids who just graduated were congratulated often, and cheers were heard for them. Finally it was time to go home for the night. The rest of the week was passed in nervous excitement as the kids waited to hear who their potential senseis were going to be, and just who they were teamed with. Even if most of the clan kids suspected who they would be teamed with. Finally it was the night before team announcements, and Naruto fell asleep slowly, anxious to truly begin his ninja career. Naruto sat in the academy next Shino and Hinata. He could feel Shino's bugs buzzing in excitement. His own were stirred up, as well, feeling his excitement through the link they had. Today was the start of their ninja career. They all waited eagerly as after another few moments he heard 2 screeches, and Ino and Sakura were at the door shoving at each other. "HMPF. That Yamanaka clan heir is pathetic." Madara grouched from behind him. Naruto silently agreed, though he would never say such a fact out loud. To be nothing more than a fangirl, he shuddered. He didn't know how Sakura could beat Hinata, or even Ino for the position of top Kunoichi. But he was about to find out, since they would most likely be team members. Finally Iruka came in, and told them all to take their seats. The kids did, Sakura sitting next to Sasuke, and I know sitting next to her. Alright class, thank you for your patience as we form the teams you will be placed on. Now, as I'm sure none of you want to hear a super long boring speech, I will simply say congratulations, and I wish you many years of success. You all are now about to take your second test to become genin of Konoha. Team 1, Iruka started, then went to list off the teams. Team 7 will be Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Hiruno, and Naruto Uzumaki. Your potential jounin instructor will be Kakashi Hatake. The girl cheered when she heard her name called with Sasuke's, then she glared at him. Sensei, why is the dead last with us? She asked. Well, the top male and female are paired with the dead last in order to balance the teams out, he said to them. The girl who Madara had once told him had pink hair, scowled. Alright, continuing on, Team 8 will be Hinata Hyuga, Shino Burame, and Kiba Inuzuka. Your potential jounin instructor will be Kurani. Team 10 will be Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara, and Chaji Akimichi. Your potential jounin instructor is Asuma Sarutobi. What's Team 9? One of the students asked. Team 9 is still in rotation from last year. Iruka answered. Now your potential jounin instructors should be here shortly, Iruka sighed. At the latest they will be here in 3 hours. Please be patient if your jounin instructor takes a while. With that he turned and walked out the door. They could hear him saying something before some people came in. A few minutes passed before Naruto saw a familiar person. Hey Asuma. He greeted with a wave. The man waved back. Hey Naruto. With that he picked up his students. Naruto settled in for a wait. Knowing that Kakashi would take forever to arrive, he had spent some time with the man after the man guarded him. But since Kakashi retired from the Anbu he hadn't seen much of him. Eventually they were the last team left in the room. Hey Sasuke, Sakura, would you like to play Janken? He asked as he quickly became bored. One shouted no, and one grunt was his answer. Man Sasuke, your father is much more sociable than you, Naruto commented, trying to rile the other boy. Sasuke glared at him. Naruto just smirked back, his arms crossed. Hashirama sighed. Naruto-chan takes after you so much, Dara-chan. Madara smirked. As he should. After all, I am the best. Hashirama just groaned. With a shrug Kurama formed himself, and the two started playing Janken, though Naruto didn't cheat against the Bijou. Mostly cause the Foxbug clone could see the Shimmers as well. The two played for an hour with both losing and winning at the same pace before Kurama got bored. So the pink hair thing and the Uchiha brat are your teammates? Kurama asked, looking at them. Yep. Sasuke glared at them, his shearing and popping into his eyes. Kurama hissed at him. I hate Uchiha. I know you do. Naruto said, rolling his eyes. Kurama glared at Sasuke before dismissing himself again. What was that, Baka? Sakura asked. Foxbug clone. Naruto answered with a shrug as he pulled out his seal book and continued reading on blood seals and the dangers of using them. Unlike a normal seal, a blood seal was made of a user's blood and chakra. The seal was connected to the user permanently once activated, meaning that before you activated the seal it had to be perfect, or the seal could seriously hurt you. These seals were often used on prisoners to tell the warden the exact location of where they were. These seals, if designed properly, could also be used to enhance the user's strength. It could also be used as a means of control. The book mentioned a seal called the caged bird seal, which was branded onto a person like a slave mark, and if someone knew the control sequence they could activate the seal to cause intense pain to the bearer of the seal. Because the seal was a blood seal, there was no way to remove it without causing the death of the bearer of the seal. Even if you removed the physical embodiment of the seal, or tried to modify the physical portion, the effect would still be there because the seal was etched into the bearer's very essence. A blood seal was usually a color other than black to show that even if you tried to erase or destroy its physical appearance it would still be in effect. Naruto wondered if this meant that even in death, the bearer of the seal still had it on them. Most blood seals were used as a punishment to someone else, with others being able to control the seal to inflict pain of some sort or even death. Some blood seals though were able to be of benefit, but if done incorrectly could cause injury or death, which was why the use of blood seals was not recommended for experimentation. Some blood seals could be used as regular seals, though their effects were more limited than the normal seal. Such was the gravity seal. That seal was used to make gravity seem heavier to the user of the seal, and they could increase it in levels when they felt they were ready to move on. The blood seal had much the same effect, except it gradually increased the gravity by itself as the user became accustomed to the previous amount. Because the user of the seal is the same person wearing the seal in this case, they can easily turn the seal on and off. When the seal turns off, and back on, the seal doesn't go to the same amount it was at previously. Instead it is lowered by a little bit and works back up to where the user left off before continuing to go up. Naruto thought the gravity seal was interesting, and that he might have to try it, though only after talking with Jiraiya about it. My first impression of you two is you're boring, Kakashi said pointing to Sasuke and Sakura. Huh, what about Naruto Baka? Sakura shouted. Hi Kaka-chan, Naruto said waving as he looked up from his book. Meet me on the roof in 5 minutes, the man said disappearing in a swirl of leaves. Sasuke and Sakura got up and ran to get to the roof in time. Naruto raised an eyebrow as he pulled himself out the window and walked up the wall. I knew you would have enough sense to walk up the wall, Kakashi said reading his orange book. Hashirama glared at him for reading the stuff in front of Naruto while Madara just grinned as he read of Kakashi's shoulder. Naruto rolled his eyes and said, "You're ruining the innocence of little kids reading that trash in front of them." He said his posture changed to Hashirama's as he mimicked the man's tone and voice. Kakashi just gave an eye grin and shrugged. You can be really creepy when you say what I'm going to say before I even get a chance to say it. You know that right? Hashirama said with a pout. Naruto just beamed. He pulled out his book and started reading as they waited for his teammates. Finally Sasuke and Sakura made it up, panting and out of breath. They glared at seeing Naruto sitting there. Now that you two are finally here, why don't you introduce yourselves? What do you mean sensei? Sakura asked. Well, I want you to tell me your likes, dislikes, dreams and all that, he said as he put his book away. Can you give us an example? I suppose my name is Kakashi Hatake. My likes and dislikes aren't that important, and my dream haven't given it much thought. Naruto rolled his eyes at the man who just gave an eye smile. Why don't you go Pinky? My name is Sakura Hiruno. I like, she giggled as she looked at Sasuke. I hate Naruto Baka, she screeched glaring at him. Naruto pouted dramatically crouching as he bent down from where he sat to draw circles on the ground. And my dreams are, she blushed and glanced at Sasuke. Fangirl scum, Madara commented crossing his arms and glaring at her. Naruto gave a small nod in agreement. Next up is Broody, Kakashi said lazily. My name is Sasuke Uchiha, not Broody. I like my clan. I dislike those who think we are weak. I have no dream, instead my goal is to kill Itachi and bring him to justice for his slaughter of my clan, Sasuke said darkly. Naruto raised a mental eyebrow at that. I guess Fugaku decided not to tell Sasuke the truth about the massacre. Next up is Naruto. Why do you call him by his name, and not us? Sakura asked. Because I know Naruto, Kakashi answered. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I like allative stuff. I dislike those who don't understand the difference between a seal and the item it holds. My dream is to be recognized by Konoha, and to become Hokage, Naruto declared smiling. Kakashi gave a smile at him, Sasuke scoffed at him, and Sakura rolled her eyes. As if anybody would want a loser like you to be Hokage. I honestly don't know if you guys are going to pass the second test. Remember you're not Genin until I give the say-so. That being said, your test will take place tomorrow on Training Field 7. Out of all the teams the success rate is only 33% for this second test. I would recommend that you don't eat, lest you throw up. But hey, what do I know? I'm only your potential teacher. With that he was gone. 3 pieces of paper fluttering to the ground. They each picked up a paper. It had more details on the test including the meeting time. Do you guys want to go eat something and discuss our plan for this? Naruto glanced down at the paper. Survival training. Our sensei is going to be putting us through. The two ignored him and walked off. Alright, I'll see ya tomorrow then, he said with a sigh as they left. You know, I kinda starting to wish I had at least put in enough effort to not be dead last. Naruto deadpanned. Hashirama just grinned. But you didn't, so now you got to work with your teammates. But what if they don't agree to work with me? Then they fail and you become the hermit's apprentice. Madara commented with a shrug. True, I suppose it isn't that big of a deal. Do you think they're going to take Kaka-sensei's words at face value, and not eat? The fangirl will most likely not eat. As for the brat, he might if his father interferes. If not, then he will also probably not eat. Madara commented. Well, I definitely plan to eat. And I'll have my food scroll and ramen scroll on me. I wonder which test Kakashi will give you. Hashirama mused. The bell test. A voice answered them. They turned to see a girl about Naruto's age. Really? So he's using my old test then? Yikes, this isn't looking good for your team, Naru-chan. Thank you for the information. What's your name? He asked. Tarita, I was a graduate last year. She replied sadly. Naruto bit his lip. What happened? She shrugged. My team failed the second test. I am ashamed to admit that I was one of the reasons for that. When Kakashi pointed out why he failed us, I broke. I'm sorry to hear that, Naruto replied softly. I have only really started to learn what being a good person is now. I am ready to pass on. But I was curious as to if your team will pass this year unlike my year. I hope we can. But my teammates don't care for me much. I guess I will see you around tomorrow. The girl nodded before she turned and left. The trio were silent as they went to Ichiraku's, and Naruto ate some ramen. Then he went back home, and asked Jiraiya about the blood gravity seal. That seal? Yeah, it's one of the medium blood seals, though it is by far one of the most useful of the lot. It's pretty safe as well compared to most other blood seals. Once you're able to draw the seal perfectly without messing up with normal ink, then you can do it on yourself. Jiraiya told him. Cool with that, Naruto went to his room, and started practicing the seal. A few hours later he was able to draw the seal without messing up. Grabbing an empty ink bottle he winced as he cut his palm deeply. He let the blood drip into the bottle. A few minutes later the bottle was a fourth of the way full, and the wound had been healed by Kurama. Next he channeled his chakra into the blood. It moved a little bit before settling back done. Dipping a clean ink brush into it he started to carefully draw the seal on his wrist. When he was done he felt a slight increase in gravity. Nothing too noticeable though. Sealing his blood ink up he carefully washed the brush he had used. He had to be careful to make sure no one could get their hands on the blood ink lest they use it against him. He looked at the seal on his wrist. To him it was a dark gray. The seal is a dark blue color. Hashirama informed him. Naruto gave a nod. He could now remove the seal on his skin if he wanted to, and it would have no effect on the seal since it was bound to him, but he kinda liked having the seal on his skin. Smiling he went to where Jiraiya was working on writing another of those trashy novels, and showed him. Good job kiddo, Jiraiya told him looking over the seal. I've removed mine long ago but this is the same color as mine was. I assume those spirits of yours already told you the color. Yep, and cool. You better go to sleep. You have a busy day ahead of you, Jiraiya said glancing at the clock. Alright then, good night Ero-sennin. Good night brat. Naruto went back to his room, and changed into his night clothes and fell asleep.